Chapter 1643. Yunjian loved to eat prawns and lobsters. However, she rarely ate lobsters because the shell was hard to remove. This was because Xiao Yunju had once fed Yunjian the lobster he had painstakingly peeled. Yunjian pinched Xiao Yunju's tender cheeks. Ce only found out about it then. Therefore, when the dishes were served today, Ce peeled the lobsters as soon as he saw them. He peeled it very carefully, peeling off all the hard shells without leaving a single trace. If one were to ask if Ce was a very hard-working person, the answer would be no. Ce never peeled lobsters himself. In fact, he had never eaten lobsters that were fished out of smelly drains before. However, ever since he saw Yunjian eat the lobsters Xiao Yunju had peeled for her, she revealed a satisfied expression. She even pinched Xiao Yunju's cheeks. Ce was moved. In order to peel lobsters for Yunjian, he had specially researched lobsters. Therefore, Ce quickly finished peeling off the shell of the lobster and delivered it to Yunjian's mouth. Yunjian was shocked. She glanced sideways at Ce. However, as she watched Ce, she bit, chewed, and swallowed the lobster. During this process, Yunjian kept staring at Ce's face. Although she didn't express her emotions, Yunjian's heart was filled with warmth. It was as if her entire body was enveloped by something called warmth. "Is it delicious?" Ce's warm voice sounded. His words were filled with warmth. He looked at Yunjian with his easygoing eyes. It was as if even the coldest snow mountain could be melted by his eyes. Yunjian lowered her head slightly. She blushed and nodded gently. "It's delicious. I really like this taste." She had never told anyone that she liked lobsters. However, Ce knew about it. Yunjian didn't know how Ce knew that she liked lobsters. However, Yunjian wasn't stupid. She thought about it carefully. When she was eating the lobsters that Xiao Yunju had peeled for her, she had pinched Xiao Yunju's cheeks with a blissful look on her face. At that time, he was there too, he must have seen it then. Yunjian didn't expect Ce to be able to observe her in such detail. Therefore, she was touched at this moment. When she had been the king of secret agents, slaying God, she had never trusted anyone easily. No one had ever observed her every move and knew her every word and action in order to understand her better. There had been people who had observed her every move and grasped her words and actions to the fullest extent, but they had done so in order to kill her. Someone like Ce, who only wanted to make her eat happily, had never appeared before. After feeding her the lobster, Ce peeled another one. He removed the shell of the lobster and placed the meat into Yunjian's bowl. Everyone at the same table could feel how much Ce doted on Yunjian. They were speechless when they saw how much Ce spoiled Yunjian. By the end of the meal, Yunjian's mouth was stained with lobster oil. Yunjian loved good food. She had been like this in her previous life. However, she had never revealed this hobby in front of outsiders. Coincidentally, Ce knew about it. When Yunjian had finished all the lobsters, Ce wiped his perfect and slender hands with tissue paper. "The two of you are so lovey-dovey. Haha. We old men can't take it anymore." When they left, the Special Forces soldiers laughed and teased Yunjian and Ce. In the end, only Yunjian, Ce, and a few others were left. Yunjian caught a glimpse of Ce's hand. Because he had peeled a plate of lobsters, his perfect fingers were red from the hard shell of the lobster. However, Ce didn't say a word of dissatisfaction. Seeing this, Yunjian's heart skipped a beat. She reached out and held Ce's large hand. Chapter 1644. Ce was sometimes funny and shameless to the extreme. Although sometimes, Yunjian was too embarrassed to say that she knew him. However, Yunjian knew that Ce cared about her, which was why he sometimes acted so childishly. Thinking of this, Yunjian revealed a blissful smile. To be able to meet Ce after her rebirth was her greatest happiness in every lifetime. Whether it was when she was the sorcerer goddess in her previous life or now as Yunjian, she wanted to be with him forever. Until death. When Yunjian returned to the Taekwondo dojo, Ce accompanied her all the way. Yunjian stayed in the hotel on the third floor of the Taekwondo dojo and shared a room with Luo Mei. Su Mei and Nan Linlin shared a room. The contestants were not allowed to change their rooms or go out to find another place to stay during the competition, so Yunjian naturally could not go out with Ce. Therefore, Ce also booked a room on the third floor of the Taekwondo dojo, which was not far from Yunjian's room. Of course, Mo-san did not dare to stay with Ce, so he stayed next to Ce. The night continued to spread. At 10:00 in the evening, there were 2 beds in their hotel room. Yunjian slept on the one by the window while Luo Mei slept on the one by the bathroom. "Where are you going?" Yunjian sensed Luo Mei walking towards the door. In the darkness, although her eyes were closed, she suddenly opened her mouth the moment Luo Mei walked towards the door. Luo Mei originally wanted to sneak out by herself, but she did not expect to be discovered by Yunjian. Luo Mei originally thought that Yunjian was asleep, so her movements were light when she went out. However, Yunjian's voice suddenly rang out, which startled Luo Mei. "Ah, you scared me. You're not asleep yet? I want to take a walk on the rooftop." "I can't sleep," Luo Mei said to Yunjian after she calmed down and patted her chest in fright. After a while, Yunjian's voice sounded faintly. After a pause, Yunjian nodded and said, "Don't go back too late. It's not safe." "Yes. I was just going for a walk. I'll be back soon." Hearing that Yunjian cared about her, Luo Mei was moved for a while and nodded vigorously. Luo Berry was born in a wealthy family. Her family was very rich. For example, her family was so rich that they could buy dozens of helicopters in one go. They were also the aristocratic families that people often talked about. Although Luo Mei was the eldest daughter of a wealthy family, she was usually very lonely. Her mother was a strong career woman, and her father was the chairman of a company. The 2 of them took turns to go on business trips, and the only one who took care of Luo Berry was the nanny at home. But as a nanny, how good could she be to a person? Lubi had been very lonely since she was young. Because of her good family background, many children were unwilling to make friends with her. Some time ago, even her best friend had left her. The reason was that her best friend's boyfriend saw that Luo Mei's family background was good, so he forced her to break up with her best friend to pursue her. Luo Mei naturally didn't agree, but after she rejected the pursuit of her best friend's ex-boyfriend, she went to find her best friend. Luo Mei still remembered that day. After she found her best friend, she tried to reach out to her best friend. But she gave her a resounding slap on the spot. In front of everyone, she called her a whore and said that she could steal other people's boyfriends just because she was rich. That was why Luo Mei came to the selection field without hesitation. She wanted to let herself forget the past that she didn't want to remember in the painful training. After hearing Yunjian's concern, Luo Mei was very moved. At this moment, she had already left the hotel room and walked to the rooftop. The Taekwondo dojo only had 3 floors, but the rooftop was very big and the decoration was very good. Luo Mei's heart was low, and she had already reached the top of the rooftop. Just as Luo Mei opened the door of the rooftop, she bumped into a slender figure. Chapter 1645. When Luo Berry met Mo's son, she was really shocked. She originally just wanted to go to the rooftop to relax. It was already very late at 10:00 in the evening. Most of the people in the Taekwondo dojo were already asleep. Luo Berry actually felt so bad that she wanted to cry, but she was afraid that crying in the room would wake Yunjian up or scare Yunjian, so she ran to the rooftop. Luo Berry's best friend had played with Luo Berry since they were young. The 2 of them had been friends for 11 years. In the past, Luo Berry always believed that only her best friend did not care about her outstanding family background and played with her as usual. However, after that incident, she was completely hurt. Even though she had been in the selection field for so long, sometimes she would run out and cry when she was upset. This would make her feel that life was actually just like that, and that crying would be fine. She did not need to let anyone know that she was crying. Luo Berry did not like to be seen crying. She was like her mother. Even if she bled and broke bones in front of outsiders, she would not shed a single tear. When she walked to the rooftop just now, the door to the stairs to the rooftop was mysterious. Luo Berry did not think much and opened the door, but she saw Mo-san at a glance. When she saw Mo-san for the first time, and it was also late at night, Luo Berry was so scared that she took a step back. Her legs went soft and she fell directly to the stairs. However, before Luo Berry fell, Mo-san reacted naturally and reached out his hand to grab Luo Berry, who was about to fall down the stairs, and pulled her to him. Mo-san was a very gentleman. He would not take this opportunity to pull Luo Berry into his arms and take advantage of her. Even if Mo-san admitted that when he first saw Luo Berry, he knew that Luo Berry's appearance was very much to his taste. Be careful. After Mo-san pulled Luo Berry, he stabilized Luo Berry on the spot. Then he said these two words to Luo Berry without any change in his expression. Thank you. Luo Berry was so scared that her expression changed instantly. She thought that she was going to fall. However, Mo-san held her at the same time. This was the second time he helped her. Luo Berry thanked him. You're welcome. Be careful. After Mo-san said these two words, his expression did not change at all. He turned around with a cold face and was about to leave. You. Luo Berry called out to Mo-san again. Mo-san had just gone down the first step. Thank you for what happened during the day. Luo Berry bowed to Mo-san and said. Be careful in the future. If you're too naive, you'll be killed easily. Mo-san did not say anything else, but this sentence was a little cruel to Rockberry. Anyway, thank you. Lowberry nodded heavily at Mo Sr. And Luo Berries. Berry heaved a sigh of relief and found a spot on the rooftop to sit down. She looked up at the twinkling stars in the sky. SSS2's Azaz's 2. At home, she was doted on by her parents. At school, she had friends to take care of her. Everyone cared for each other. After returning home, she could only face the empty house and walk to school alone. Her best friend whom she had played with for 11 years scolded her for being a whore. But now that he thought about it, he felt heartache. SSS's. Looking at the stars in the sky, one by one, they snuggled together. The tears in Luo Berry's eyes flowed out. Fortunately, everyone was asleep at this time. Luo Berry was a strong person. She did not want to show her weakness in front of others. But in the dark, she would cry. Like all young girls in their youth, she would bear her own pain alone. After crying for about 20 minutes, Luo Berry did not make any sound when she cried. When she was tired from crying, Luo Berry stood up and went back to her hotel room as usual. Suddenly, a man's voice sounded in her ear. Stop crying. Luo Berry stood up and saw Mo-san standing beside her. She was so scared that she took a big step back and asked on the spot, You? Why haven't you left? You? How long have you been standing here? Luo Berry was most afraid of people seeing her weak side. So the moment she saw Mo-san, her expression changed drastically. Chapter 1646. From the beginning, Mo-san said simply. He had been standing beside Luo Berry since she started crying. However, Mo-san knew how to restrain his aura, so Luo Berry didn't notice him. Then, Mo-san handed Luo Berry a piece of tissue paper again. Wipe yourself. Thank you. Luo Berry took the tissue paper from Mo-san awkwardly. She saw Mo-san turn around and leave after giving her the tissue paper. Luo Berry couldn't help but call out to him, Can you not tell anyone about what happened just now? She didn't want others to know about her weak side. Mo-san's footsteps paused. After finishing his last sentence, he walked away without looking back. I didn't see anything. Did that mean he wouldn't tell anyone? Luo Berry heard Mo-san's words and shouted at him again, Thank you. When Luo Berry returned to the hotel room, Yun Jian had already fallen asleep. The next morning, the Taekwondo channel's business was booming. The door was so crowded that it was impossible to enter. It was mainly because some people with big mouths spread the news that 20 Special Forces soldiers were going to have a one-on-one fight here. Countless locals came here to see the Special Forces soldiers in a one-on-one fight. Lin Kuan and his group came here early in the morning. Lin Kuan mainly felt that his strength was on par with Yun Jian's. He came here to see what kind of realm Yun Jian could reach. There are so many people. Luo Berry woke up early. Her eyes were red from crying last night and she had already used ice water to cool them down. She was shocked by the crowd when she came out of the hotel room. Yun Jian's voice sounded indifferently. Ce and Immerse came over at this time. Luo Berry looked into the distance and could clearly feel Immerse's gaze on her from behind Ce. At first, she unconsciously turned her head to glance at the gaze that was staring at her. However, when she realized that Immerse was really staring at her, she was so scared that she turned her head away and didn't dare to look at him again. The first round of the preliminaries is about to begin. 006, 057, get on stage. Someone ran over from afar and shouted for Yun Jian and Su Mei to get on stage. Yun Jian glanced at Ce before walking over with Su Mei. Good luck. Luo Mei didn't participate, but when she saw that Yun Jian and Su Mei were about to leave, she waved to Yun Jian and Su Mei and made a cheering gesture. This time, the competition would be in the form of drawing lots. In the first round of the competition, there were a total of 20 people, and everyone had to draw a lot. The numbers were from 1 to 10, and each piece of white paper was marked with numbers from 1 to 10. There were a total of 20 lots. The numbers from 1 to 10 would appear twice, so there would be a total of 20 lots. In these 20 lots, 2 people would draw one. Then, these 2 people would be the opponents of each other. The winner would then continue to battle the next day, and the loser would be eliminated on the spot. Yun Jian drew a 6 again, while Su Mei drew a 9. This competition was organized according to the order. The 2 people who drew 1 would fight each other, and they would take turns. By the time it was Yun Jian's turn, the whole place was in an uproar. Yun Jian was the youngest, but everyone present had seen how arrogant Yun Jian was yesterday. So, they were all very excited to see Yun Jian's strength. What was even more exciting was that Zhou Duanzheng, who had challenged Yun Jian yesterday, was the first person to go up against Yun Jian. Holding the number 6, Zhou Duanzheng glared at Yun Jian fiercely and walked to the temporary arena where he was facing Yun Jian. The arena was more than a meter above the ground. 006, looks like you're quite lucky. Wait a moment, I'll kick you out of the preliminaries. Zhou Duanzheng glared at Yun Jian and said fiercely. Yun Jian didn't reply to Zhou Duanzheng. At this moment, everyone around looked at the scene in front of them excitedly. It wasn't until Officer Fang solemnly announced the start of the battle that Zhou Duanzheng shouted and pounced on Yun Jian. He wanted to kick Yun Jian out of the arena with one punch. Yun Jian didn't move. Is she scared out of her wits? Someone asked in surprise. Get out of the preliminaries. Zhou Duanzheng had already come to Yun Jian's side. However, just as Zhou Duanzheng's fist was about to reach Yun Jian just tilted her body sideways and dodged Zhou Duanzheng's punch. In a second, she flashed behind Zhou Duanzheng, stood behind him, and kicked Zhou Duanzheng off the stage, ending the competition. It was so fast that the naked eye couldn't see when Yun Jian came behind Zhou Duanzheng. It was really just a second. Yun Jian won this battle in a second. At this moment, everyone's eyes widened, and their faces changed rapidly. How did Yun Jian win just like that? Officer Fang had just announced the start of the competition. How did it end? Didn't it just start? Some people were so scared that they didn't even have time to react. How did it end just as it started? Yun Jian really won so easily? The competition hadn't even started yet. Chapter 1647. It was really 1 second. Yun Jian kicked Zhou Duanzheng off the stage in 1 second, and at the same time ended Zhou Duanjing's delusional thoughts of representing Z country to the hunting organization. If it wasn't for Zhou Duanjing's arrogance, Yun Jian wouldn't have let him off the stage in such a pathetic state. It was because of Zhou Duanjing's arrogance that Yun Jian directly finished him off, causing Zhou Duanjing to lose face for the rest of his life. Being kicked off the stage in 1 second by a teenage girl, Zhou Duanjing couldn't care less about the pain. He scrambled up from the ground, but he didn't have the face to stay there anymore, so he turned and ran away. There was a dead silence in the surroundings. Everyone was waiting to see the battle between Yun Jian and Zhou Duanjing. However, this battle had ended before it even started. The final result was Yun Jian's instant victory. Instant victory over a male special forces soldier who was ranked within the top 20 in the country. Yun Jian's ability was beyond everyone's expectations. It was something that they had never expected. Hence, Lin Kuan, who saw this scene, sat up straight. His eyes were wide open, as if he had seen a ghost. Originally, Lin Kuan had vowed to Yun Jian that he wanted to be friends with Yun Jian, because he thought that his ability was only higher than Yun Jian's. However, at that moment, Lin Kuan felt Zhou Duanjing's power. More specifically, he felt Yun Jian's ability. Just now, when Zhou Duanjing threw a punch at Yun Jian, if it was Lin Kuan, he probably wouldn't even have the ability to withstand that punch. In spite of it, Yun Jian had dodged Zhou Duanjing's punch. That wasn't all. She actually went from Zhou Duanjing's front to Zhou Duanjing's back in just a second and kicked Zhou Duanjing off the stage. Lin Kuan's shock couldn't be described with words. In comparison, the few special forces soldiers who were in Zhou Duanjing's group didn't look too good. After the silence in the crowd, a huge wave of applause erupted for Yun Jian. Good. 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 Too amazing. This is an instant victory. This little girl has a bright future ahead of her. Based on this strength, I reckon there's hope for him to enter the top 3. The public who had ridiculed Yun Jian for not being able to win immediately turned to Yun Jian's side. Now, all that was left was their high praise and confidence for Yun Jian. Su Mei and Luo Berry stood in the distance. Because Su Mei had drawn the number 9, she was not in a hurry to go on stage. Ah. 006 is too awesome. 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 Luo Mei was standing beside Su Mei. When she saw that Yun Jian had accepted the challenge, she was more excited than anyone else. She looked at Yun Jian, who was standing in the arena, and reached out to touch Su Mei's arm. Sister Jiang, she won. I knew she would win. Luo Mei said as she shook Su Mei's hand. She was so excited that she almost jumped up. Cough cough. A muffled cough came from the side. It was a magnetic male voice. Luo Berry held her hand and had just recovered from her excitement. She raised her head and looked to the right, only to see Mo Sen's handsome side profile. Ah. Where's Sister Jiang? Luo Berry suddenly realized that she was holding Mo Sen's hand. She was so shocked that she quickly let go and asked. I'm here. Su Mei was standing beside Luo Berry just now, but she had walked away. When she saw that Luo Berry had held the wrong person, Su Mei said awkwardly. Luo Berry's face suddenly turned as red as an apple. Yun Jian stood in the arena. Just as she was about to leave the arena, she saw Ce, who was standing below the arena, jump onto the arena with one leg. He held Yun Jian's hand and walked down. The arena was open to the audience. Hence, the scene of Ce holding Yun Jian's hand and leaving the arena was exposed to the audience. Ce seemed to be holding Yun Jian's hand and walking down the arena after declaring his sovereignty. In addition to Ce's unbelievably handsome looks, Yun Jian's pretty face was a perfect match for him. The degree of compatibility between the two of them made the audience below scream. Oh my God, there are actually 2 people who are so compatible in this world. They are so loving. Chapter 1648. Ce was completely oblivious to the cheers and screams of the crowd below as he grabbed Yun Jian's hand and walked down the ring. CE was currently wearing a black leather jacket with a simple white casual shirt underneath and a pair of black jeans. From the back, CE was dressed in black from head to toe. His short hair was very eye-catching. Standing at 185 meters tall, he looked like a movie star from the back. He was so handsome that even if he tried to hide his brilliance, it could not hide his dashing side. Yun Jian was wearing an extremely loose sportswear that matched her upper body and lower body in black and white. Coupled with her high ponytail and extremely slim figure, CE could not help but feel a sense of relief. CE held Yun Jian's hand as they walked forward. Looking at them from the back, their compatibility could be felt just by looking at them. What was more, CE's swift movement when he leaped into the ring and his indulgent gaze that only had Yun Jian in his eyes. Just now, CE had grabbed Yun Jian's hand and walked out of the ring. It was only a split second, but it had the audience's eyes popping out of their sockets. Words like handsome man and beautiful woman were no longer enough to describe how compatible Yun Jian and CE were. Young master. Immerse lowered his head at CE when he saw CE coming over. Go back first. CE did not look at Immerse. Senator. He held Yun Jian's hand and walked around Immerse and the others to leave, leaving Immerse with these words before he left. An Hun group was busy, especially CE, who was the leader of An Hun. He was busier than anyone else. In spite of it, CE would not leave for the next few days. He had to accompany Yun Jian to get a spot in the hunting school and watch Yun Jian win. There was nothing more important than his woman. Xiao Jian was more precious to him than anything else. She was one of a kind. He asked Immerse to go back first because he wanted Immerse to go back to An Hun to deal with the organization's affairs. Yes. Immerse responded to CE's order without any change in his expression. At this moment, CE had already pulled Yun Jian's hand and left the Taekwondo dojo. After listening to CE's order, Immerse sent a message to the helicopter pilot who had sent him and CE here before walking out of the Taekwondo dojo. The live broadcast was still ongoing. The audience was still watching the one-on-one battle between the Special Forces soldiers. Other than Yun Jian, there was no one else who could defeat the opponent within a second. Most of the Special Forces needed about half an hour to determine the winner. There were some who were more outstanding, but compared to Yun Jian, they were not worth mentioning. Seeing that Immerse was about to leave, Barry opened her mouth and shouted, You're leaving? In such a noisy Taekwondo dojo, Immerse heard Rockberry's shout immediately. Luo Berry's appearance suited Immerse's taste very well, and her voice was very recognizable to Immerse Senator. Even if he didn't deliberately listen to her, he could still hear her voice in such a noisy scene. Yes. Immerse was a man of few words. Then, you won't appear again? Luo Mei was confused and felt a sense of loss. Yes. Immerse still answered with one word. When Luo Berry heard this, she was disappointed. However, the two of them had never interacted before. This meeting was just a coincidence. Whether they would meet again in the future would depend on fate. Oh. Be careful, then. Luo Berry said to Immerse dejectedly. Anyone would be able to sense the sense of loss that he was feeling. Be careful? Worried about him? Immerse's footsteps paused slightly. He paused for a moment before leaving. Then, he softly left behind an before walking away without looking back. Immerse was different from Adam. Although Immerse and Adam were biological brothers, Adam would do anything to keep the things he liked. However, Immerse was different. Immerse was not good with words when it came to the things he liked. At least, that was what Immerse thought before this. His and Adam's lives were given by the young master, so their lives belonged to the young master. People had to learn to be grateful, and Immerse was the same. Looking at Immerse's slender figure, Luo Berry's eyes darkened, and she didn't look anymore. The Taekwondo dojo was still going on with the competition. CE brought Yun Jian directly to a sea of flowers. There was no end in sight, and there was some natural beauty. Trees, mountains, rivers, everything was natural scenery, and nothing could be more beautiful. When Ce brought Yunjian here, Yunjian saw hot air balloons one after another not far away. She was slightly stunned. However, she heard Ce's magnetic male voice, and his breath sprayed on her head. Do you like it? Chapter 1649. This was a sea of flowers, and the surroundings were colorful. It was so beautiful that it was like a paradise on earth, with a kind of natural beauty. Ce held Yunjian's hand as they slowly walked over. Yunjian looked around before looking up at Ce. Where are we? We can travel all over the place in the hot air balloon. Do you like the beautiful scenery we found yesterday? Ce asked again. As he spoke, he had already wrapped his slender arm around Yunjian's waist. He lowered his head and looked at Yunjian as though he was asking for Yunjian's opinion. Seeing Ce's expectant expression, she wanted to write, "Hurry up and praise me. Hurry up and praise me," on Yunjian's face. It was an innocent smile. She nodded at Ce. Yeah, I like it a lot. Hearing that she liked it, Ce broke into a smile. He held Yunjian's hand and walked over to the uncle who was releasing the hot air balloon. This area of hot air balloons had been built by the uncle in front of them and a few investors who had partnered with him. There were many hot air balloons floating in the sky. There were many couples around and it was very crowded. The hot air balloon here was not the kind of hot air balloon that had a fixed location. It would float the tourists across the endless sea of flowers and slowly land on the opposite side of the river. Although it looked exciting, it was very safe. Hence, there were many tourists coming and going and many people riding the hot air balloons. In the blink of an eye, there were only 1 or 2 free hot air balloons left. Don't rush, don't rush. Everyone, don't rush. Take your time. We've already contacted the warehouse to deliver the hot air balloons to everyone. Come one by one, don't rush. The owner of the hot air balloon, the uncle, was waving his hand to signal the passengers to not rush and that the hot air balloons would be delivered from the warehouse soon. In reality, the weather had been good and the sun was shining brightly over the past few days, so there were many people riding the hot air balloons. As a result, there were not enough hot air balloons. There were many people lining up for the hot air balloon. Ce held Yunjian's hand as they lined up, enjoying the feeling of lining up. He did not use any of his identities to drive away the surrounding people, nor did he directly contract the venue. Instead, he held Yunjian's hand and lined up like an ordinary couple, waiting in line to sit in the hot air balloon. The queue lasted for an entire afternoon. By the time it was Yunjian and Ce's turn to ride the hot air balloon, it was already evening. Come, 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 it's your turn to be a couple. Come up quickly. The old man waved at Yunjian and Ce. Their husband and wife, Ce corrected the old man as he waved his hand. Ahem. So young. So they were husband and wife. This little girl is so young, but she has a husband who dotes on her. This way. Just step on it. When the old man heard Ce's words, he flashed his big yellow teeth and smiled. Then, he gestured for Yunjian and Ce to board the hot air balloon. The hot air balloon's temperature was controlled very well. Therefore, only a young couple usually sat in the hot air balloon. Because there were handles on the hot air balloon, if one wanted to land, they just had to pull the handle off. When Ce and Yunjian boarded the hot air balloon, the old man stuck his head out and smiled at Yunjian. Then, he said to Ce with a sneaky look, "Young man, when you're at the highest point of the hot air balloon, give your wife a kiss, and I promise you'll be together for a long time. Let's go." After the old man finished his last sentence, he released the string tied to the hot air balloon. The hot air balloon immediately floated up from the ground and ascended into the sky. Chapter 1650. Yunjian heard what the old man said to Ce, but she didn't take it seriously. This old man actually wanted Ce to kiss her when the hot air balloon was at its highest point. Yunjian didn't see the smile on Ce's face. She also didn't take the old man's words to heart. Instead, she placed her hands on the railing of the hot air balloon. She wasn't afraid that she would fall if she stayed close to the railing. Yunjian stood at the edge of the railing. The wind whistled past, blowing her long straight ponytail. Yunjian stood against the wind. The wind was too strong. She squinted her eyes slightly and enjoyed the coolness of standing on the hot air balloon. Ce stood beside Yunjian. He leaned against the railing with his back facing Yunjian. He sized her up with his sharp eyes and stared fixedly at her. The hot air balloon was still on the verge of falling as it ascended, but Yunjian and Ce weren't afraid at all. Ah! It's so scary. I want to go down. I want to go down. Would he fall? It's too scary. I don't want to stay on the hot air balloon anymore. There were 3 or 4 people standing on the hot air balloon next to them. They stood side by side with Yunjian and Ce for a while. A woman on the hot air balloon was hiding in the basket of the hot air balloon. She didn't even dare to move. She looked as if she was afraid that the hot air balloon she was sitting on would fall. No matter how the people around her pulled and pulled, the woman acted as if she was about to fall and die. She was so scared that her eyes kept rolling back. Look at the couple next door. They aren't scared at all. Why are you so scared? You're even making a fuss. Don't you feel embarrassed? On the hot air balloon next to Yunjian's, a man was lecturing the woman who was so scared that her eyes were rolling back. However, the woman squatted down and hugged the basket of the hot air balloon. The hot air balloon flew high, and it did not have a rocket launcher like an airplane, nor was it like a Ferris wheel. At least, there was a pillar that was close to the ground to support the entire set. Sitting in a hot air balloon gave people the feeling that they were floating in the air, which made them feel extremely insecure. Not long after, the hot air balloon that was flying alongside Yunjian and Ce chose to descend. It was probably not going to play anymore. On the other hand, Yunjian and Ce's hot air balloon gradually rose higher and higher until the people standing on the ground felt as if they were about to fly into the clouds. The heat of the hot air balloon only lasted for a short while. It rose to its highest point and then began to gradually decrease. Ce sized up Yunjian. This made Yunjian shy for a moment. You. Why do you keep looking at me? There was no one here, but it had risen to the highest point. Yunjian was a little shy as Ce kept staring at her. Ce had always been a person who was not good with words. He was not good with sweet nothings and did not know how to do romantic things. It was rare for him to be romantic today. Just as Yunjian lowered her head, feeling shy from Ce's stare, Ce suddenly said, "Xiao Jian, I love you." She was shocked by Ce's words. He had barely mentioned words like and love in the past, let alone saying, "I love you," in a situation like this. The hot air balloon was already at maximum power and hovered at the highest point, where the clouds could be seen just by looking up. Before Yunjian could react, Ce suddenly placed his hand on the railing of the hot air balloon and tugged at the rope that was tied to the basket, purposely creating a bump for the basket without letting Yunjian notice. Yunjian lost her footing and fell straight into Ce's arms. Ce caught Yunjian's body and lowered his head, bending slightly to press his lips against Yunjian's soft ones, biting away the petals of Yunjian's lips intimately. Yunjian did not react in time and was kissed head-on. Blinking, her long lashes fluttered, but she did not reject Ce's kiss. Chapter 1651. They were in the sky. How dare he? Yunjian slapped Ce's pig-trotter hand away. She pressed her hand against the spot in front of her chest and Ce's chest. "Xiao Jian, let me touch." Ce released Yunjian's lips playfully and made a shameless request to Yunjian. "Don't." Yunjian refused. In the end, she could not win against Ce. In the end, Ce reached his hand into her bra through her skin. After getting off the hot air balloon, Yunjian ignored Ce and walked forward alone. He had actually acted so bashfully in front of her on the hot air balloon just now. Yunjian did not want to talk about his bashful behavior anymore. Xiao Jian, what's wrong? Ce came over to hold Yun Jian's hand as usual and turned to ask her. Yun Jian did not fling Ce's hand away, but she ignored him. Did I touch you just now? Before Ce could finish, Yun Jian tiptoed to cover Ce's mouth. Talk again and you're not allowed to do this in the future, Yun Jian told Ce. To Ce, her words sounded coquettish, causing Ce's lips to curl into a pretty smile. Did she mean that he could still treat her like this in the future? Seeing Yun Jian fling his hand away softly and walking away, Ce's lips curled up before he chased after Yun Jian. Every Special Forces soldier was only allowed to fight once a day. A total of 10 Special Forces soldiers were eliminated in today's one-on-one battle. Among the candidates recommended by Principal Ma, other than Yun Jian, only Su Mei was not eliminated. The rest, be it Su Wenming, Wang Buren, or Dong Xiu, were eliminated. The next day's battle was a 5 versus 5 battle. Yun Jian did not perform outstandingly on the second day, but after a few minutes of sparring, she kicked her opponent out of the ring and declared her victory. On the third day, there were only 5 people left. These 5 people were Yun Jian, Su Mei, Wu Ningnai, and 2 other men whose names were unknown. 2 women made it to the final round of this year's qualifier. This made the audience a little surprised. After all, it was always the men who made it to the end in the previous qualifiers. Women were weaker than men, so the chances of them making it to the final round were slim. But this year, there were actually 2 women who made it to the final round, which made the people present doubt again. Could Yun Jian and Su Mei really make it to the top 3? In the last round of the competition, there were a total of 5 people. The 5 of them would take turns to fight. This meant that Yun Jian would have to fight the remaining 4 people who made it to the last 4 rounds. Everyone had to fight 4 rounds. After the 4 rounds, whoever won the most rounds would be the winner. This meant that Yun Jian would have to fight Su Mei. 006, use all your strength to fight me. I won't let you win. Of course, don't let me win. Su Mei was full of fighting spirit. She smiled and said to Yun Jian. Definitely. Yun Jian pursed her lips and turned her head back to her. Naturally, she would not let Su Mei win. At this moment, the final battle was about to begin. Yun Jian's first opponent was Wu Ningnai. At this moment, Wu Ningnai stared at Yun Jian with hatred. You made my brother look bad. Today, I will let you know what the gap in strength is. Zhou Duan, who was kicked off the stage by Yun Jian, was Wu Ningnai's brother. At this moment, Wu Ningnai was very confident in himself. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. Just as she was about to say something. Bang! There was a loud noise. In the ring, a white smoke bomb was suddenly thrown up and exploded in the ring. Then, the surroundings were filled with smoke. Oh, he. A snake-like female voice was heard. The crowd saw a woman with a perfect body standing before them. She was 1.7 meters tall and had a voluptuous figure. The woman who suddenly appeared held a whip in her hand. After laughing, she used the whip to whip Wu Ningnai and threw him off the stage. Then, the woman met Yun Jian's eyes. In front of Zhou Duanzheng, Chief Fang, Nan Linlin, Lin Kuan, and the rest, she mocked Yun Jian. Slaying God, the #1 secret agent on the international secret agent ranking, is actually fighting with this bunch of trash. If this gets out, people will laugh themselves to death. The #1 secret agent on the international secret agent ranking, slaying God? Yun Jian? Everyone's expression changed when they heard the woman's words. They thought that Yun Jian would deny it. However, the moment Yun Jian saw the woman in the ring, she narrowed her eyes and smirked slightly. She did not need to guess to identify the woman. Chapter 1652. When this voluptuous woman appeared out of nowhere and pointed out that Yun Jian was slaying God, the king of secret agents on the international secret agent leaderboard, no one could react in time. They were all stunned on the spot. Slaying God, the #1 secret agent on the international secret agent leaderboard? To some people, this title was something that they would never be able to touch in their lifetime. This was the kind of gap that an ordinary person would never be able to come into contact with a national leader. To the crowd, it was impossible for Slaying God, the #1 secret agent on the International Secret Agent Leaderboard, to appear here. She was someone on the Secret Agent Leaderboard. She was someone who could kill. Therefore, when the crowd heard Lang Mei's words, they were all stunned for a moment. However, before the crowd could react, Yun Jian had already met Lang Mei's eyes and pointed out her identity in front of the crowd. This caused the crowd, who had yet to recover from their shock, to be fiercely shocked once again. Blood doll? 006, the blood doll that you're talking about, could it be the latest assassin organization in Southeast Asia? It said that it rose at lightning speed and swept through all the assassin organizations in Southeast Asia. In the end, it became the #1 assassin organization in Southeast Asia. Its position is feared internationally. Chief Fang stood next to the ring. Lang Mei had thrown a smoke grenade without any warning. His field of vision was obscured by the smoke grenade. When his field of vision returned to normal, Chief Fang saw the voluptuous Lang Mei standing in the ring. She was dressed a little skimpily, but her private parts were completely covered. Based on what Yun Jian had said earlier, the woman who suddenly appeared in front of everyone was the #1 expert under the Blood Doll leader, Lang Mei. Rumor had it that the #1 expert under the Blood Doll leader, Lang Mei, was an expert in using a whip. Her whip was accurate and she only needed one whip to kill someone. Her ability was amazing. Even if she was not on the International Secret Agent or Assassin Leaderboard, her skills were almost on par with them. To be honest, when Lang Mei said that Yun Jian was the #1 secret agent on the International Secret Agent Leaderboard, Slaying God, not many believed her, especially Chief Fang and the others. After all, Yun Jian's age was obvious and she was Officer Ji's daughter. How could she be Slaying God, the top secret agent in the world? But just by looking at her cold demeanor, the way she appeared, and the way she whipped Wu Ningnai off the stage, her swift and fierce skills. The identity of Lang Mei, the #1 expert under the Blood Doll's leader, was a given. Yun Jian didn't answer Officer Fang's question. When Lang Mei heard Chief Fang call Yun Jian 006, he was first stunned. Then, he laughed and continued to speak to Yun Jian. 006. Slaying God, this is the same serial number as when you first joined in Hun. Lang Mei clearly knew everything about Yun Jian. Hearing Chief Fang call Yun Jian 006, Lang Mei took the opportunity to ask questions. After the surrounding people knew Lang Mei's identity, they were all scared witless. Just when the crowd thought that Yun Jian would back off, Lang Mei didn't say anything. Unexpectedly, Yun Jian ignored Lang Mei's words. She lowered her gaze slightly and looked up at Lang Mei with her piercing gaze. Her smile was blurry, as if her every frown was laced with murderous intent. With a faint smirk, Yun Jian suddenly opened and closed her hand in front of the audience, including Lin Kuan, Zhou Duanzheng, Nan Linlin, and the rest. A butterfly knife suddenly appeared in her hand. Yun Jian took 2 steps toward Lang Mei. At that moment, she looked like a demon from hell in front of the crowd. She smiled at Lang Mei indifferently. Chapter 1653. Yun Jian's words were clearly heard by all the spectators in the Taekwondo dojo. Everyone was shocked by Yun Jian's words and her confident aura. 006. You're crazy. How dare you talk to Lang Mei, the top fighter under the Blood Doll leader? Come back. We have to fight side by side. Officer Fang's face changed when he heard what Yun Jian said to Lang Mei. Was Yun Jian crazy? How dare she talk to Lang Mei like that? Lang Mei was the top fighter under the Blood Doll leader. Even if they had more than 20 special forces, they would have to think twice before dealing with her, right? But what about Yun Jian? How dare she say to Lang Mei, Blood Doll, including you, will become my captives so blatantly? Was she crazy? 006 is crazy. She must be crazy. Not only will she be finished by saying such things, but she will also get everyone here killed. Zhou Duanjing was already holding a grudge against Yun Jian because she was disqualified in the preliminaries. Now that he heard Yun Jian's words, Zhou Duanjing took the opportunity to speak to the people around him in an extremely exaggerated tone. Everyone around the Taekwondo dojo panicked when Zhou Duanjing shouted. They all thought that Yun Jian would get herself killed by saying such things to Leng Mei. She's crazy. She provoked the Blood Doll organization in Southeast Asia. That's fine, but she wants to drag us down with her. We're ordinary people. If she wants to die, then she can die by herself. Why should she drag us down with her? With Zhou Duanjing's shout just now, the people around them cursed Yun Jian who was on the stage. Everyone thought that Yun Jian's behavior just now would harm everyone. Get out. Get out. What 006? Get out. Selfishness. Shameless. We don't need special forces like you in our country. There were even people who cursed at Yun Jian who was standing in the ring with chilling words. Although Yun Jian's words were arrogant, Leng Mei didn't dare to take Yun Jian's words as a joke. What a joke. She was not dumb enough to think that Yun Jian was joking when she heard slaying God's words. However, Leng Mei was stunned at this moment. She was stunned by the audience who were desperately shouting for Yun Jian to get out of the arena. However, Leng Mei only smiled coldly for a while, as if mocking the ignorant audience below. This group of selfish humans. Bang bang bang. At this moment, 3 gunshots rang out and hit the high ceiling of the Taekwondo dojo without warning. The gunshot rang out and the gun fell. When everyone reacted, they were so scared that they screamed, "Ah! Ah! Ah! Gun! You have a gun!" Before the exclamation could be heard, the crowd had already rushed out of the Taekwondo hall. However, before anyone could rush out of the Taekwondo dojo, the gunshot rang out again. This time, it landed at the entrance of the Taekwondo dojo. As the crowd passed by, they saw CE standing at the same spot. His slender fingers were on the gun's buckle, preventing anyone from leaving the Taekwondo dojo until the screaming crowd quietened down. His cold voice was heard and his tone was even more arrogant than Yun Jian's. If you say anything bad about my woman again, don't even think about leaving this place unless you're a corpse. How could he make it sound so easy to kill someone? Moreover, the people around had only said something bad about Yun Jian and he wanted to kill someone because of it. The crowd was frightened by CE's cold and sharp gaze. They saw CE sweeping his gun around. His cold gaze made everyone's hearts pound in fear. At this moment, CE's voice was heard again. If anyone says anything bad about my woman again, this will be your outcome. After that, CE turned his gun sideways. Without even looking, he aimed the gun's muzzle at the chain hanging from the ceiling and fired a shot. The gunshot rang out and the gun fell. On the ceiling, the shot was so accurate that it broke the chain hanging from the ceiling. Chapter 1654. CE's actions frightened everyone around him. Fortunately, there was no one standing next to the huge chandelier in the Taekwondo dojo. However, the chandelier's chain was broken by CE's shot. The huge chandelier crashed from the ceiling to the ground, making a loud noise. The entire chandelier was smashed into pieces within a few seconds. The broken parts were unbearable to look at. If there had been anyone standing around, even if they hadn't been frightened, they would have been pierced by the glass shards that flew everywhere when the chandelier shattered. CE's move was absolutely ruthless. It was enough to scare everyone to death. Just by looking at CE's marksmanship, who in the crowd wouldn't be convinced? One shot, just one shot. He didn't even look when he shot the chandelier's chain. With such marksmanship, even if the crowd tried to escape, it was highly likely that they would be shot in the head and die. In addition, CE had protected Yun Jian just now. The crowd was stunned and didn't dare to say a word. CE's actions were purely to give Yun Jian some peace and quiet. It was a battle between Yun Jian and the Blood Doll's #1 expert, Leng Mei. Officer Fong was also shocked by CE's marksmanship. However, he reacted very quickly. 006, don't do anything stupid. She is the blood doll's #1 expert, Leng Mei. Let's fight together. We're not afraid of her. Don't mess around by yourself. Officer Fong still didn't relent. He was worried about Yun Jian, so he kept talking to Yun Jian. Officer Fong knew that Yun Jian was Gu Yunjian's daughter. He also had some friendship with Gu Junjian. Naturally, he couldn't just stand by and watch something happen to Yun Jian. Moreover, the opponent this time was the #1 expert under the blood doll's leader. Leng Mei was an assassin who crawled out from a pile of corpses. Although the special forces were powerful, an assassin who crawled out from a pile of corpses was someone who didn't care about her own life. After all, the special forces were tied down. Under such circumstances, Leng Mei's strength was not something the people present could imagine. However, if more than 20 special forces soldiers worked together, it was not impossible for them to defeat Leng Mei. Duel? You want me to fight against you? After Leng Mei heard Officer Fong's words, she pointed at herself, then at Yun Jian, Officer Fong, and the others. She was even suspicious for a moment. After her suspicions, Leng Mei did not wait for Officer Fong and the others to reply. She laughed maniacally as if she had heard a shocking joke. She laughed until she was out of breath. After laughing, Leng Mei came back to her senses and pointed at Yun Jian. She regained her serious expression and said to the commanding officer, Zhou Duanzheng, and everyone else who thought that Yun Jian couldn't beat her, "Are you kidding me? I'm not a fool." Me? Fight her? She was slaying God. I don't want to lose miserably. That would be too embarrassing. I'm the #1 expert of the blood doll. I'm just here to deliver a letter today. Leng Mei knew her limits. She did not think that she could defeat Yun Jian. After all, the difference in their abilities was obvious. Here, this is a letter that our blood doll leader asked me to pass to you. Leng Mei took out a letter from her ample bra. She held the letter between her right index and middle finger and threw it toward Yun Jian. The letter flew into Yun Jian's hand. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes and caught the letter that Leng Mei had thrown at her. Officer Fong, Zhou Duanzheng, Nan Linlin, and the audience below were dumbfounded when they heard Leng Mei's words. The #1 expert of the blood doll, Leng Mei, said that she can't beat her? Is this real or fake? Chapter 1655. Just as everyone was wondering if Leng Mei was telling the truth, Leng Mei waved at Yun Jian and said, "All right, I'm done here. All right, now that I've completed the mission my leader gave me, I'm going home for my beauty sleep. Slaying God, see you next time." Leng Mei flicked the whip in her hand as she spoke. She turned to her side and extended her hand. A smoke grenade appeared in her hand and she waved it at Yun Jian and the rest. After showing off the smoke grenade, Leng Mei put it to her red lips. She bit the handle of the smoke grenade with her pearly white teeth and tossed it on the ground after biting it open. She was prepared to leave the place in a few seconds. At the same time, Leng Mei said, "Let's go, slaying God. We'll meet again." A huge cloud of white smoke floated in the air. Yun Jian's eyes flickered in the smoke. Phew, we're safe. Thank goodness that blood doll's #1 expert isn't here to kill. Someone in the crowd exclaimed in relief when they were on the brink of death. Chief Fong and all the special forces present heaved a sigh of relief. Thank goodness that Leng Mei was only here to deliver a letter. Otherwise, there would have been casualties if they fought her. Just as everyone heaved a sigh of relief, the smoke from the white smoke grenade dissipated. Before the crowd could relax from their tense emotions, they saw Yun Jian holding a woman's arm with one hand in the ring. She had easily pinned the woman's bent body under her. Upon closer inspection, this woman, was she not Leng Mei who had said she was leaving? Why was she being pinned down by Yun Jian? She was being pinned down by Yun Jian. The crowd reacted abruptly and their expressions changed again. This time, they were not shocked because Leng Mei, the blood doll's #1 expert, was still around. Instead, they were shocked because Yun Jian had really pinned Leng Mei down. Was what Leng Mei had said true? Could she not defeat Yun Jian? Moreover, if she were to fight with Yun Jian, she might even be defeated? Ouch, ouch, be gentle. I'm in pain from being pinned down by you. Lang Mei did not panic even though she was being pinned down by Yun Jian. She relaxed her arms since she was pinned down by Yun Jian. She could not move her arms and could only move them slightly. No, slaying God, didn't I tell you that I'm here to deliver a letter, not to fight you? I don't dare fight you. Just let me go, will you? Madam, I'll admit defeat, okay? If Lang Mei knew that she had been captured by Yun Jian, she would not have come even if the leader had offered her 100 million USD. Moreover, it was only a mere 5 million USD salary. Where's Blood Doll's headquarters? Yun Jian asked faintly, suppressing Lang Mei. I can't say that. Lang Mei shook his head and shrugged. Then you'll stay here and be my prisoner. Yun Jian pinned Lang Mei down, not giving her a chance to stand up and fight back. Yun Jian and Lang Mei's conversation baffled the onlookers below them. What was going on? Why was Yun Jian asking about Blood Doll's headquarters? Did she really think that she was slaying God, the #1 expert on the international secret agent ranking? Even if Lang Mei said so, how was that possible? So what if she had pinned Lang Mei down? It did not mean that she was slaying God, the #1 expert on the international secret agent ranking. Just as the audience refused to believe it, two silhouettes flashed through the entrance. The two beautiful silhouettes appeared in the ring in a flash. Looking closely, it was Qin Yu and Gu Nianji. When the audience saw Qin Yu and Gu Nianji, they were shocked. Who were these two people? Chapter 1656. Calling Yun Jian Sister Jian? Everyone present was slightly surprised. These two young girls were calling Yun Jian Sister Jian. Who were the two of them? After Qin Yu and Gu Nianji shouted at Yun Jian, Qin Yu explained to Yun Jian. Sister Jian, we've chased Lang Mei all the way here but she tricked us and even made us cough. So hand her over to us. I'll write my name Qin Yu backwards if I don't get back at her for tricking us. As she spoke, Qin Yu clasped her hands together, her knuckles cracking loudly. Yun Jian knew that Qin Yu and Gu Nianji must have fought with Lang Mei once she heard what she said. Yes, yes. She tricked us into the pigsty just now. Both of us jumped into the pigsty and were almost suffocated to death. I'm so pissed. Sister Jian, you must hand Lang Mei over to us. Gu Nianji, the useless teammate, blurted out how she and Qin Yu were lured into the pigsty by Lang Mei in front of everyone. Qin Yu sighed with a hand on her forehead when she heard that. Don't, it's not that serious. Both of you jumped into the pigsty yourself, don't blame me. Lang Mei snickered and coughed dryly before speaking to Qin Yu and Gu Nianji. Gu Nianji went over and knocked on Lang Mei's head. Then, Lang Mei was dragged away by Qin Yu and Gu Nianji. What happened just now? Could it be a farce? Someone below could not help asking when they saw Lang Mei being dragged away by Qin Yu and Gu Nianji. So the gun he used just now was a fake too? Someone turned to glance at CE and asked with a chuckle. It must be. Everything that happened just now was definitely just a farce. You gave me a fright for nothing. Haha. The Taekwondo dojo sure knows how to play. Someone else chimed in. The passing of words actually suppressed the atmosphere just now. Chief Fong was no fool. He knew that what happened just now could not be described as a farce. In the end, he did not say anything. The final round of the qualifiers began as usual. Yun Jian was fighting Wu Ningnai, but now that Lang Mei was dragged away by Qin Yu and Gu Nianji, the competition resumed. There was no doubt that Yun Jian had won. When Yun Jian fought with Su Mei, she didn't give in to her either. The other two men were no match for Yun Jian. Therefore, Yun Jian's first place was secure. Because there was a group of people watching below, Yun Jian's first place was naturally not fake, so everyone was convinced. In the end, other than Yun Jian who took the first place, the second and third place went to the two male Special Forces soldiers. Su Mei and Wu Ningnai both failed. Su Mei didn't feel bad about this at all. It's already beyond my expectations that I could get to 4th place today. Yunjian, you're amazing. Su Mei gave Yunjian a thumbs up. The qualifiers this time came to an end. It was not even a month since the competition had ended early. The 3 people who were selected were the ones who would go to the hunting academy this year. Meanwhile, Chief Fang called Yunjian to a corner and asked Yunjian in private about what happened just now. It was just an accident. You don't have to bring it up again, Chief Fang. Yunjian answered the question that Chief Fang wanted to know. Cough. All right, as long as you're safe. Chief Fang did not suspect that Yunjian was slaying God at all. He was just worried that Yunjian was related to Blood Doll. However, after listening to Yunjian's words and considering Yunjian's ability, Chief Fang did not say anything else. Yunjian did not ask any more questions after Lang Mei was pulled away by Qin Yu and Gu Nianji. She had just bid farewell to Chief Fang and was about to leave when she bumped into a meat wall. Yunjian bumped into Si Yi's firm chest while Si Yi extended his long arm and pulled Yunjian into his embrace. Even Officer Fang, who was already married and had a child, blushed slightly at this scene. Cough cough. Let's call it a day. You've won 1st place. Just wait for our notice. The competition is over. You can leave if you have someone to pick you up. Now that the competition was over, everyone was heading home to check on their own condition. Let's go home. Si Yi's large palm held Yunjian's small hand as he pulled Yunjian out of the Taekwondo dojo. When Yunjian heard Si Yi say, "Go home," a bashful image flashed across her mind for some reason. She coughed but did not let go of Si Yi's hand as she followed Si Yi out. Unknowingly, Si Yi's large palm tightened around her small hand. He had the urge to toss her onto the bed and have her give birth to a bunch of children for him. His Xiao Jian, his. He really wanted to *CK her until she could not get out of bed. He believed that he would be able to do that soon. Chapter 1657. The qualifier came to an end and the candidates were selected. Other than Yunjian, the other 2 male special forces were veteran special forces above the age of 40. Their capabilities were undeniably strong. Like the previous years, other than Yunjian, who was a freak, the other 2 male special forces were above the age of 40. In the past, the youngest of the top 3 candidates who could go to the hunting school was above the age of 30. After all, the older one was, the more capable one was. It was an unchanging law. Yunjian was already considered an anomaly. Yunjian had Si Yi to pick her up, so she did not return to Min City with Chief Fang and the rest. The military academy was still in its school term and the qualifier this time took about a month. It was less than a month, but it was almost time. Because sending Yunjian to the qualifier required a separate leave, Yunjian was the only one in the entire Min City Military Academy who had applied for leave, so Yunjian had to go to school once she returned to Min City. However, before she went to Min City, Yunjian made a trip back to Longmen City and her home. After staying a night in Longmen City, Yunjian returned to Min City Military Academy. Throughout the night, Si Yi had been hugging and rubbing against her. Cough. Other than the last step, he had done everything else. Cough cough. The next morning, Si Yi returned to an Hun group. Shuang had sent a helicopter to pick him up. Before he left, Si Yi was still hugging Yunjian bashfully. After Si Yi left, Yunjian stretched lazily and got out of bed. Packing her bag, she went to Gu Yunjian's house to have a few bites of the breakfast Qin Yiru had made. There was a bowl of porridge, a tea egg, and 2 meat buns. Yunjian loved the taste of Qin Yiru's cooking, so she finished the food in no time. Eat slowly. Xiao Jian, you've lost weight again. You must eat well when you go to school. Don't get any thinner. My heart aches when I see you like this. Qin Yiru had just returned from Xinjiang town not long ago. Looking at Yunjian's thin and frail figure, she could not help but feel sorry for Yunjian and kept adding more porridge for her. Qin Fangfang's situation had temporarily stabilized, but she still needed some time to deal with the divorce. These days, Qin Yiru had been by Qin Fengfeng's side. Qin Fengfeng's hurt heart had been greatly relieved. "Mom, I've been eating well recently." After finishing the porridge, Yun Jian stood up and picked up the backpack hanging on the back of the chair. She carried it on one shoulder. "Mom, I'm leaving now," Yun Jian said to Qin Yiru before taking the bus to Min City. "Hey! Walk slowly," Qin Yiru shouted behind Yun Jian. It was already the middle of October and the temperature was dropping gradually. Many people still insisted on wearing short-sleeved shirts and shorts. As the temperature dropped, the sun was still scorching during the day, but when the autumn breeze came at night, one would still be wearing short-sleeved shirts and shorts. Those who could hold on were talents. It was a little chilly in the morning, but the air was fresh. Yun Jian wore a pair of shorts and a short-sleeved top. Her high ponytail made her look spirited. Seeing that her classmates had already dismissed their classes and Yun Jian had only rushed back to school the day after, classes were still going on as usual. Seeing that Yun Jian was back, Lin Wan, who had not seen Yun Jian for a month, sprung up from her seat and rushed over to hug her. Mu Ying, who was beside her, beamed at Yun Jian as well. "She's back in less than a month. She must have been eliminated by the selection." "Hee, but that's to be expected." Lin Shuya, who had always been at odds with Yun Jian, shrugged her shoulders and smiled coldly at Yun Jian. The girls around who were helping Lin Shuya immediately agreed. "You guys." Lin Wan was about to reply for Yun Jian with a sullen face. A few excited voices came from the entrance. "Yun Jian. You're back. Someone said that they saw you enter our school, but we didn't believe it. You're really back." Some of the boys and girls in Yun Jian's class were excited when they heard the excited voices ringing from the entrance. "Ah. It's the members of Team Monarch. They must be here for Team Monarch's general, Slashing God." While the crowd was engaged in a heated discussion, the 6 of them, led by Chu Ning and Chu Xiangnan, walked in through the main entrance. "How was it? Yun Jian, you must have gotten a place to go to the hunting academy, right? Hee. You won't let us down." Chu Xiangnan walked over and looked at Yun Jian with a grin. "Are you guys stupid? She's back in less than a month. She must have been eliminated." Lin Shuya, who was a distance away, reminded them once again. The selection lasted for a month and people could be eliminated at any time. Yun Jian came back so early. What else could it be other than being eliminated? Just when everyone was stunned by Lin Shuya and thought that she made sense, that Yun Jian must have returned because she had been eliminated, Yun Jian spoke up and retorted without holding back, "You're right, Lin Shuya. You're right." Chapter 1658. Yun Jian's words rang out abruptly and reached the ears of every student in the class, stirring up a storm. After all, representing Z country to further their studies in a hunting school was something that every student present could only imagine. At least for now, it was something that was out of their reach. But what about Yun Jian? Did Yun Jian really get a place in such an unattainable thing? Of course, that was not the main point. The main point was that Yun Jian actually got first place. What kind of place was the selection arena? The people who went were the most famous special forces soldiers in the country. Yun Jian was still inexperienced. She was just a student from Min City's military school. Like everyone else, she was just an ordinary student. But she got first place in the selection arena? If Yun Jian barely made it into the top 20, the crowd would not be as shocked as they were now. However, the scary thing was that Yun Jian actually got first place in the selection arena? That was a lie, right? Yun Jian, don't try to lie to us. It hasn't even been a month since you went to the selection arena. You got first place? Who would believe that? It hasn't even been a month and only those who are eliminated will be sent back. The way I see it, it's obvious that you were eliminated and sent back. You're still pretending that you got first place. Who would believe you? Lin Shuya was no fool. She could tell that Yun Jian's retort just now was an overt and covert retaliation. Moreover, It had not even been a month since Yun Jian went to the selection arena. She was sent back in less than a month. If that was not elimination, what was it? We believe in Yun Jian. She's never bothered to lie. Chu Ning stood up and patted her chest as she spoke in a reassuring tone. She won't lie. I guarantee it with my integrity. Just as Chu Ning's voice fell, Jiang Weiwei spoke up as well. Jiang Weiwei still remembered that in the beginning, she was also one of the members who went against Yun Jian. Today, she was completely convinced by Yun Jian. We, Team Monarch, never lie. Captain Lu Shiyun said solemnly. In their hearts, Yun Jian was no different from a god. It was because of Yun Jian that Team Monarch was where they were today. When Lu Shiyun started, all 6 members of Team Monarch were fighting to pat their chests and swear that Yun Jian was telling the truth. You're just siding with your teammates. Humph. Whether or not I've been chosen, we'll know when the results are announced. Lin Shia seemed to be angry. She gritted her teeth fiercely. Just as she finished speaking, the homeroom teacher, Teacher Chu, walked into the classroom from outside the door. The students were still in shock. It was the end of class now. Why would the class teacher come to the classroom? However, Mr. Chu looked around and set his eyes on Yun Jian. He then walked over quickly. Yun Jian, you've won first place in this selection. Our Min City Military Academy is basking in your glory. The higher-ups are praising our Min City Military Academy for producing such a talent. Principal Ma is over the moon. He's asking you to go to his office for tea. Teacher Chu spoke to Yun Jian as he walked. Principal Ma was the principal of Min City Military Academy. Yun Jian's participation in the selection was due to Principal Ma's recommendation. Teacher Chu's words were like a heavy invisible slap on Lin Shiya's face. Lin Shiya's face was as dark as steel from the heavy blow. Even when Yun Jian walked out of the classroom, Lin Shiya's face was still as dark as if she had been constipated for 365 days. The students in the class were dumbfounded. She actually made it to the preliminaries. Chapter 1659. The students in the classroom were still in shock, but Yun Jian had already gone to Principal Ma's office. After receiving Principal Ma's hospitality in his office, they could already go to the cafeteria for lunch when they came out. Yun Jian, you don't know how Lin Shiya looked like she ate shit when she heard Teacher Chu say that you got first place, ha ha ha. After you left, Lin Shiya's face was still dark, and she still hadn't recovered from the shock for a long time. Lin Wan was still talking about how Lin Shiya saw that Yun Jian really got first place, and then Yun Jian was invited to the principal's office for tea by the homeroom teacher, Teacher Chu. Lin Shiya was so shocked that her mouth was wide open, and she couldn't even make a sound, as if she had been constipated for hundreds of days. As she spoke, Lin Wan was still laughing, as if she was the one who was venting her anger. Yun Jian only pursed her red lips after hearing that. This kind of small matter is not worth mentioning, Muing said with a smile, showing her big white teeth. Halfway through the meal, Chu Ning and the others brought their lunch boxes to the table next to Yun Jian. Yun Jian, we're going out for a walk tonight, do you want to come along? Chu Ning winked at Yun Jian and asked Yun Jian. Aren't we staying in school tonight? How are you going to get out? Lin Wan blinked innocently and asked. Shush. Don't be so loud, we're in school, but we can climb over the wall and get out. We'll come back when we're done playing, it's youth, we have to have some fun. Hee hee. Chu Ning dissed Lin Wan, and winked at Yun Jian again. I promised to treat you guys to a meal last time, tonight. Yun Jian held a bowl of seaweed soup, and she promised Chu Ning and the others indirectly. As soon as she finished speaking, she put the bowl of seaweed soup into her mouth. Delicious. Okay. Then Yun Jian, we'll call a few buddies we just met, that's okay, right? I think we'll call a few more people, and if we get caught, we'll all be punished together, hee hee. Chu Xiangnan scratched his head, and asked Yun Jian in a negotiating tone. It just so happens that you've won first place. They'd love to meet you. Chu Xiangnan did not stop talking. Anything is fine, Yun Jian said these two words, and continued to take a sip of the seaweed soup. Okay. Chu Xiangnan was overjoyed when he heard that. He nodded and began to finish the food in his lunchbox at lightning speed. After Chu Ning and her friends left, Lin Wan stared at Yun Jian blankly. She lowered her voice and asked Yun Jian in her softest voice, Yun Jian, are you guys really going to skip school and go out to play? This isn't good, is it? Yun Jian did not answer Lin Wan directly, and instead asked Lin Wan in return, want to go together? Lin Wan shook her head immediately after hearing that. No, I'm not going either. You have fun, Mu Ying yawned and said to Yun Jian. But Yun Jian, is it really okay for you to skip school like this? You were just praised today, if you get caught. Lin Wan was still worried. However, before Lin Wan could finish her sentence, Yun Jian's red lips curled up. She pursed her lips, paused for 2 seconds, and said, youth. After that, Yun Jian took the lunchbox with one hand and poured the rest of the food. Lin Wan was left behind, and she was slightly stunned, but she shook her head in the end, indicating that she did not understand. The agreed time was 10 o'clock, and after the dormitory check, they would gather at the wall of the south gate of the school. Min City Military Academy went to bed early, and the dormitory check was early as well. At around 10 o'clock, the dormitory auntie and uncle were already asleep. Even the girls in Yun Jian's dormitory were half asleep. Chapter 1660. The aunties in the female dormitory and the uncles in the male dormitory had the same problem. They slept very deeply. Because of this, many students from Min City Military Academy would escape in the middle of the night to play and have supper. Moreover, most of the students in Min City Military Academy were martial artists. Other than a few girls who studied military medicine, the rest of the boys were all military academy students. Naturally, their strength was not to be underestimated. After all, they were trained in the military academy. Naturally, they wouldn't be too bad. Those who played truant would hide a little, afraid that the aunties in charge of the dormitory would still be awake and would be caught patrolling. But what about Yun Jian? She walked openly to the female dormitory's entrance. But the strange thing was that Yun Jian's footsteps were light. It was like a female ghost floating on the ground without making any sound. Yun Jian walked without making any sound, just like a female ghost. If someone saw this scene, it would be strange if they weren't scared to death. Yun Jian's dormitory building was quite high. When Yun Jian reached the second floor, just as she turned the corner on the second floor, a girl secretly ran over from the other side. Because Yun Jian's footsteps were light, it was as if there was no sound at all, so the girl didn't notice that someone was coming down the stairs on the third floor. When Yun Jian stepped on the stairs on the second floor, the girl happened to rush over from the corner. The moment she saw Yun Jian, the girl nearly shrieked when she saw her due to the darkness and the fact that she did not make any noise when she walked. In the end, she clamped her hand over her mouth to stop herself from shrieking. Yun Jian immediately dodged to the side when the girl rushed over and avoided the girl's collision. But the girl was pitiful. She was so scared that her forehead hit the wall hard. She forced herself not to make a sound. It wasn't until she saw that Yun Jian was a human who had played truant like her that the girl lowered her voice and shouted at Yun Jian. What are you doing? Don't you see if there's anyone here? The girl shouted at Yun Jian in a muffled voice. Yun Jian blinked but didn't pay much attention to him. Tonight's moon was especially round. The round moon shone on the earth. Over at the dormitory building, the girls could see Yun Jian's face clearly. Yun Jian's night vision was very good. Naturally, she could see the girl's face clearly. Just now, it was the girl who rushed over. She was not wrong, so Yun Jian ignored the girl and went straight downstairs. You. The girl didn't dare to yell loudly, so after a muffled sigh, she also sneaked downstairs. The door to the female dormitory was locked, so the dormitory manager was snoring. The girls' dormitory was surrounded by fences, and the door was locked. There was no way to get out. There were already 4 or 5 girls standing there. It could be seen that there were many people who sneaked out of the school to play in the middle of the night. Are you here yet? Are they here yet? Did senior sister bring the key? These girls bent over and snuck out in the middle of the night. They didn't even have the courage to stand up straight. Not yet. I wonder what senior sister is doing. I feel that if this goes on, we'll be discovered by the dormitory manager. These girls stood at the door anxiously. Their voices were as soft as the buzzing of insects. Just as the girls said this, they saw a figure looming at the stairs. She's here. Senior sister is here. One of the girls said happily. However, before the girls could rejoice, they saw a person with a high ponytail walking over with a straight back. She didn't look like a truant at all. The girls were so disappointed that they were discouraged. Why isn't senior sister here yet? One of the girls complained softly. Just as she finished speaking, she saw Yunjian walk straight to the door. She reached out to touch the door lock. Hey, what are you doing? Can you open the door without the key? If you open the door without the key, not only will you shake the door lock and alert the dormitory manager, you won't be able to open the door. Which class are you from? Are you stupid? Before Yunjian could reach out to touch the door lock, a girl immediately stood up to stop her. However, before the girl could reach out to stop Yunjian inserted the thin iron wire in her hand into the door lock. She shook the door lock slightly twice. Then, Yunjian opened the door under the girl's gazes. She didn't look like a truant student at all. She straightened her back and walked out as if nothing had happened. Seeing Yunjian open the door so easily, the girls were completely dumbfounded. Chapter 1661. Who was she? How could she open the door just by fiddling with the lock without using a key? Why would she need a key if the lock was there? The girls who were standing at the same spot gaped in shock as they watched Yunjian walk away. It was only when the girl who almost bumped into Yunjian sneaked down the stairs that they realized what had happened. The girl who almost bumped into Yunjian was stunned when she saw the door open. Then, she asked softly, "How did this door open?" The girl who just walked out opened it. She just fiddled with the door and it opened. One of the girls replied in a daze. At this moment, Yunjian had already arrived at the wall surrounding the south gate of the school where they had agreed to meet. There were quite a few people standing there. Apart from Chu Ning's group of 6, there were also a few boys and a few girls. It was not hard to tell that a few of the boys were Chu Xiangnan's buddies. As for the girls, they were probably the girlfriends of Chu Xiangnan's buddies. Of course, 1 or 2 of the girls had tagged along to hang out. Min City Military Academy was huge and there were many girls studying military medicine. Therefore, there were 3 female dormitories while there were more than 10 male dormitories. Chu Ning, Jiang Weiwei, and these girls were definitely not in the same dormitory as Yunjian. There were lights near the south wall, so Yunjian could see the faces of the people in front of her clearly when she arrived. There's a beauty here. When Yunjian appeared, one of the boys whistled and looked at Yunjian with a slightly teasing tone. When young boys and girls stood together, the boys would always have a sense of vanity. They would want to show off their most handsome or knowledgeable side in front of everyone. On the other hand, girls loved to show off how they were different from other girls in front of the boys. To put it bluntly, it was to show off their charm. "Xiangnan, you're amazing. How do you know such a beautiful woman?" The guy who had teased Yunjian earlier even snapped his fingers at Chu Xiangnan. Chu Xiangnan smiled awkwardly, but in his heart, he was thinking, "Didn't you guys ask to see Yunjian? Xiangnan, is your Team Monarch's Grim Reaper coming or not?" However, she saw the boy poking his head towards the dormitory building. When he saw that it was pitch black, he turned his head and complained impatiently. The boy's name was Wu Yao Tian, and he was a senior in the 3rd year of high school. He usually took care of Chu Xiangnan, but he was extremely prideful and liked to act cool in front of girls, especially beauties. "Isn't this already?" It's already in front of you. Chu Xiangnan didn't have time to say anything. Wu Yaotian had already reached out his hand towards Yun Jian. He looked at Yun Jian with what he thought was a seductive gaze and said, "Beauty, let me carry you over the wall. Look at your precious body. Isn't it a little scary to climb over the wall?" As soon as Wu Yaotian said that, Yun Jian turned her body away. "Huh, the beauty is ignoring you." The other boys jeered again. Wu Yaotian licked his lips. He turned and grabbed another girl. After getting the other girl's permission, he carried the girl and jumped over the wall. Then, he jumped back over the wall. "How is it? Am I good at climbing over the wall? It only took me a minute to bring you out. What do you think, beauty? Do you want me to carry you out?" Wu Yaotian reached out to Yun Jian again. "Brother Yaotian, why are you carrying her? Look, she's ignoring you. Just let her stay in school alone. We'll go out and have fun. She can't go out on her own. Don't bother about her." A girl who was standing at the side pouted and whined to Wu Yaotian when she saw that. This girl's name was Chi Mei. She was Wu Yaotian's admirer. "Beauty, if you don't come over, I'll carry another girl. This wall is 2 meters high. You won't be able to get out." Wu Yaotian threatened Yun Jian. As he spoke, he waved his hand again. As soon as Wu Yaotian finished speaking, he saw Yun Jian take 2 steps towards him. Wu Yaotian's eyes lit up. Just as the surrounding boys were jeering and thinking that Yun Jian was going to throw herself into Wu Yaotian's arms and beg to be carried over the wall. However, they saw Yun Jian run forward. Then, she jumped up and grabbed the top of the 2-meter-high wall with both hands. With a 360 degrees flip, she spun and jumped over the wall. Her movements were clean and neat as if she had done this hundreds of times. This process didn't take more than 3 seconds. Chapter 1662. If Yun Jian was not a martial artist, it was impossible for her to be so nimble with her movements just now. When students from regular schools played truant, even boys would look pathetic when they were climbing over walls. However, if there were girls climbing over walls, the boys would have to look dashing when they did it. They were all students from the military school. Other than Yun Jian, the rest were seniors from the 2nd and 3rd years of high school. They had been training in the military school for 2 to 3 years, so their skills were naturally different from regular people. For Year 3 seniors like Wu Yaotian, climbing over walls was a walk in the park. He was confident that he could do it even if he had to carry a girl over the wall. However, Wu Yaotian and the rest did not expect Yun Jian to be able to climb over the 2-meter-high wall in just 3 seconds. Even the male students who were from the military class of the 3rd year of high school couldn't do such a thing. Xiangnan, how did she? How was she so good? Wu Yaotian was dumbfounded. He looked at Chu Xiangnan and was interrupted by Chu Xiangnan. "You can't afford to offend her." Chu Xiangnan looked at Wu Yaotian meaningfully but did not reveal Yun Jian's identity. He patted Wu Yaotian's shoulder and walked to the wall with a smile before climbing over it. Chu Xiangnan befriended Wu Yaotian and the rest because they treated him well. However, that did not rule out the fact that Wu Yaotian and the rest liked to show off in front of girls. It was true that most boys liked to show off their abilities in front of girls. After Chu Xiangnan climbed over the wall, the other 5 members of Team Monarch did the same. The other 5 members of Team Monarch ignored Wu Yaotian and the rest. It was obvious that Wu Yaotian and the rest were in cahoots. "TSK, what's there to be proud of? So what if she climbed over the wall? I can do it too." Chi Mei was indignant that Yun Jian had everyone's attention. Recalling how Yun Jian had flipped over the wall just now, she went over to do the same. "Chi Mei, you have to be careful." Outside the wall, Yun Jian had been waiting for quite some time. Chu Ning, Chu Xiangnan, Jiang Weiwei, Lu Shiyun, Fang Xiaoran, and Hong Fan had been working hard in the military school and their skills had improved tremendously. Yun Jian had taken 3 seconds to climb over the wall while the 6 of them had taken a longer time. However, Yun Jian could sense that they had improved as compared to the past. "You've improved," Yun Jian commented with a press of her lips after Chu Ning and the others climbed out of the wall. "Heh, of course. Otherwise, you wouldn't have said that we're as dark as charcoal when you saw us last time." Chu Ning went over to put her hands on Yun Jian's shoulders and told Yun Jian with a grin. After that, Chu Ning tilted her head and smiled at Yun Jian. "Speaking of which, Yun Jian, this is our first time skipping school to have supper together, isn't it? I can bring you out every day if you want." Chu Xiangnan quickly whispered into Chu Ning's ear when he heard Chu Ning talking to Yun Jian with a smile. "Shut up. I'm talking to Yun Jian." Chu Ning sprung up to knock Chu Xiangnan's head and rolled her eyes at Chu Xiangnan with a grin before talking to Yun Jian enthusiastically. It was 5 minutes later when Wu Yao Tian and the others climbed over the wall. When everyone was out, Wu Yao Tian asked Chu Xiangnan casually just so he could take a few more glances at Yun Jian who was standing beside Chu Xiangnan. "Xiangnan, is Slashing God from Team Monarch coming or not? Is she going to stand you up?" As he asked, Wu Yao Tian took a few more glances at Yun Jian. "Isn't she already here?" Chu Xiangnan was surprised before he replied. Wu Yao Tian and the others were stunned by Chu Xiangnan's words. Wu Yao Tian snapped out of it and asked in disbelief, "Where is she? Why don't I see her?" "Her. She's Slashing God from Team Monarch. The Slashing God who won first place in this selection, our school's legend." Chu Xiangnan pointed at Yun Jian and told the incredulous Wu Yao Tian. Initially, Qi Mei was still unconvinced by Yun Jian while Wu Yao Tian and the others only treated Yun Jian as an ordinary girl. Wu Yao Tian and the others even thought that she was a student from a military medical course. Now that they heard Chu Xiangnan's words, however, they were completely dumbfounded. Chapter 1663. Aya, what's with that expression? Yun Jian has always been our Team Monarch's killing god. Chu Xiangnan saw Wu Yao Tian and the rest's deflated expressions and added a few words to help Yun Jian gloat. Other things aside, as a member of Team Monarch, Chu Xiangnan's favorite thing to do the most was to step in when others looked down on Yun Jian. It was a great feeling. Wu Yao Tian and the rest were already stunned, but after hearing what Chu Xiangnan said, they were even more shocked. However, that was not enough as Chu Xiangnan continued to brag about Yun Jian's abilities. "Don't judge Yun Jian by her skinny frame. Just look at her skinny arms and legs and you'll see that she has no ability at all. Actually, the reason why Team Monarch is able to achieve what we have today is all because of Yun Jian. You guys don't know this, but the first time we carried out a mission, it was very difficult. That mission required us to..." Chu Xiangnan stood by the wall and bragged to Wu Yao Tian and the rest while pointing at Yun Jian. Wu Yao Tian and the rest were stunned by what he said. At the end, Chu Xiangnan started to exaggerate. He pointed at Yun Jian and used exaggerated words to brag about Yun Jian's abilities to Wu Yao Tian and the rest. "You don't know this, but our mission was to steal an underground gang's secrets. Guess what happened in the end? By the time we got the news, Yun Jian had already killed her way into the gang alone and annihilated the entire gang. She was alone. She had single-handedly annihilated the entire gang. Back then, the higher-ups were so shocked. Haha. That expression was so wonderful." Chu Xiangnan's words became more and more exaggerated. In the end, Wu Yao Tian and the others were so shocked by Chu Xiangnan's words that their jaws dropped and formed an O shape. Especially Wu Yao Tian. Just now, Wu Yao Tian wanted to use the excuse of carrying Yun Jian over the wall to flirt with Yun Jian. Originally, Wu Yao Tian wanted to show off the skills he had learned in the military academy in front of everyone other than to flirt with Yun Jian. He felt that as a student of the Min City Military Academy, his strength was already very impressive. However, after hearing Chu Xiangnan's words, Wu Yao Tian felt that it was a joke that he wanted to show off in front of Yun Jian. She was the god of slaughter. It was the killing god who had won first place in the qualifiers not long ago. Those who participated in the selection were the best special forces soldiers in the country. Yun Jian would be facing the best special forces soldiers in the country. Those people were mythical existences. What about Yun Jian? She won first place. Not to mention Yun Jian's battle record of annihilating an entire gang alone. No matter which one it was, in front of Wu Yao Tian and the others, they were all out of reach. One could imagine how ugly Wu Yaotian's expression was at that moment. As for Qi Mei, who had said a few bad things about Yun Jian, her expression wasn't any better. Ha ha ha. So she's the killing god, the legendary killing god. When Wu Yao Tian and the others' expressions darkened, one of the guys in their group stood up and said straightforwardly. This guy had a candid personality and his words were forceful and forceful. Soon, the atmosphere at the scene was heated up again. It's not early anymore. Let's go eat supper and hurry back to school. At this moment, Lu Shiyun, who had been silent all this while, spoke up. As soon as Lu Shiyun finished speaking, everyone agreed, and the group quickly walked to the supper stall. Wu Yao Tian and Qi Mei were the only ones who still remembered the unhappiness from before. Qi Mei, in particular, felt an inexplicable rage burning in her eyes as she watched Yun Jian move forward. Chapter 1664. There was a food street near the military academy. The food street here was very lively. The people here had a rich nightlife, so there were many people who came to the food street for supper at night. The food street here was filled with food stalls. If one wanted to walk from the beginning to the end, it would take more than 10 minutes. Usually, the students who played truant from the military academy would come to this food street for supper. Yun Jian and the others came here as well. What supper do you all want to eat? The boy who stood up to deal with the awkward atmosphere was called Duanmu. Like his name, Duanmu was a very modest and elegant boy. As soon as everyone arrived, Duanmu swept his gaze over everyone and asked. Let's go eat barbecue skewers. Chu Ning suddenly suggested. The entire street was filled with all kinds of snacks. There were all kinds of snacks and everything one could think of. For example, noodles, rice noodles, and of course, barbecue. Chu Ning's suggestion immediately received the silent approval of everyone present. Even Qi Mei, who had a problem with Yun Jian, did not say anything. Barbecue was the favorite of young people. Most young people did not know that barbecue could not be eaten too much, or that barbecue was unhealthy. Especially in this era, health awareness was not so strong. Therefore, many young people would go eat barbecue whenever they had the chance. Come, I'll lead the way. I know a barbecue place that's especially good. It's the most popular shop here. Duanmu quickly recommended himself. As they spoke, the group walked towards the shop recommended by Duanmu. The military academy was silent at this moment, especially the dormitory building. It was so quiet that only the breathing of the students could be heard. However, this food street was completely different from the military academy. The food street was filled with neon lights. There was a large and bright light bulb hanging above every shop. There were tables and chairs for hawkers scattered in front of the shop. Although the tables and chairs were old and the food street did not look clean, there was a unique flavor to it. There were many tables and chairs in front of the barbecue shop recommended by Duanmu. As soon as they walked in, Duanmu waved at the shop owner and said, "Brother Dong, give us 50 mutton skewers, 30 skewers of roasted gluten, and 10 skewers of roasted leeks. Give us more as you see fit." Obviously, it was not Duanmu's first time here. The owner of this shop was quite young. Judging from his figure, he was about 28 or 29 years old. Hearing Duanmu's words, the boss who was called Brother Dong replied, "Okay. I'll roast it for you first. It'll be ready soon." "Thank you, Dong Ji." Duanmu hurriedly thanked him. However, the group quickly sat down. Because there were many people, 4 small tables were put together and they sat around them. Yun Jian followed the crowd and sat down beside Chu Ning. After Wu Yao Tian found out about Yun Jian's identity, although he felt quite awkward, Yun Jian was still the idol of the entire Min City Military Academy. Soon, the unhappiness from before was thrown to the back of their minds. Wu Yaotian and the others acted as if they were facing their idol and asked Yun Jian one question after another. Wu Yaotian also held back his desire to tease Yun Jian. At this moment, he was talking to Yun Jian purely as if he was talking to his idol. He had long abandoned his improper thoughts about Yun Jian. Not long after Yun Jian took her seat, a surprised exclamation sounded. It was from a girl who had just walked in from the entrance of the barbecue shop. "It's you? You're the girl who almost bumped into me at the stairs just now." As soon as the girl saw Yun Jian, she pointed at Yun Jian and exclaimed. Everyone in Yun Jian's group immediately turned their gazes over. This girl was the one who almost bumped into Yun Jian on the second floor of Yun Jian's dormitory building. There were a few other girls standing beside the girl. After the girl who almost bumped into Yun Jian spoke up, they pointed at Yun Jian and exclaimed, "That's right." Chapter 1665. The girls standing next to the girl who bumped into Yun Jian were obviously the ones who saw Yun Jian unlock the door with the wire. Therefore, the moment they saw Yun Jian, they exclaimed in shock. Those who were with Yun Jian were surprised when they heard what the girls who had just joined the school said. "You know how to pry open the door without a lock?" Duan Mu asked Yun Jian in surprise. Everyone looked at Yun Jian in shock. Yun Jian was Team Monarch slashing God, which was enough to shock everyone present. However, who would have thought that Yun Jian knew how to pry open the door? She opened the door to our female dormitory without using a key. She really gave us a fright. The girls were obviously still in shock from seeing Yun Jian unlock the door. The crowd was in an uproar, shocked by Yun Jian's ability. However, compared to that, the girl who almost bumped into Yun Jian at the staircase but was dodged by Yun Jian and hit her head hard was still holding a grudge. "Bro, it's this girl who made me get a big bump on my head. You have to avenge me." The girl who almost bumped into Yun Jian just now tugged at the hand of the man beside her like a spoiled child and pointed at Yun Jian as she spoke. The girl's name was Yang Lin. She was tall, not ugly, and had a great body. Yang Lin was a typical gangster girl while the man standing next to her was a gangster. Yang Lin liked to hang out with gangsters because she felt that she had a high status in school. Sometimes, she even felt that she could hold her head up high in school with the gangster's protection. The man standing next to Yang Lin was not her biological brother. He looked up at Yun Jian and told her in a roguish tone, "Brother Yang, you're the one who's being bullied. Were you the one who bullied my sister?" The moment he saw Yun Jian's face, the man let go of Yang Lin's hand and walked toward Yun Jian. "What do you want?" Duan Mu asked the man coldly. "She bullied my sister. Of course, we have to pay her back." The man cackled and sized up Yun Jian. Nothing good would come out of being harassed by gangsters like this. Yang Lin crossed her arms and looked at Yun Jian. She could almost imagine Yun Jian begging for mercy. Seeing that Yun Jian was ignoring him, the man took 2 steps toward Yun Jian. Chi Mei, who was hiding in the dark, smirked. It seemed that Yun Jian would be in trouble without her doing anything. Just when Yang Lin and Chi Mei saw the man take 2 more steps toward Yun Jian's eyes flashed. With a glint in her eyes, she stood up abruptly from her seat and hollered, "Get down, all of you." Then, she swept her leg at the man and kicked him in the knee, making him kneel on the ground. The people around them didn't know why Yun Jian suddenly shouted for them to get down, but they all obeyed. "What's wrong with you?" The people around them who trusted Yun Jian all got down. Yang Lin asked after Yun Jian spoke. "That's..." Before she could finish her sentence, Chi Mei's heart almost jumped out of her chest at the scene in front of her. In the next second, Yun Jian kicked a stool and sent it flying in the air. When the stool was kicked to its highest point in the air, a few gunshots rang out in the distance. Gunshots rang out and bullets flew toward them. Yun Jian's kick sent the stool flying toward the bullets that were fired out of the blue right in front of everyone's eyes. Several bullets aimed at Yun Jian were intercepted by Yun Jian's stool. This scene frightened everyone present to the point that their faces turned pale. Especially Yang Lin and Qi Mei, who didn't trust Yun Jian. This scene completely overturned everyone's understanding. A gun. She actually has a gun. But before everyone could be surprised by Yun Jian's terrifying skills, Yun Jian bent down and picked up 2 bullet shells from the ground. She narrowed her eyes and looked at a certain spot. She, who had been silent all this time, now played with the 2 bullets skillfully in front of everyone. Then, she curled her lips into a strange smile. Chapter 1666. Yun Jian fiddled with the 2 shiny bullet shells in her palm. She narrowed her beautiful eyes and stared at a dark corner of the food street. The food street was filled with snacks. The food street here was a straight street. If one were to cross left and right, they could pass through to a dark place or a street corner where there was no one. The 2 gunshots just now had only made 2 pft sounds. There was no doubt that the pistols were equipped with silencers. The sound of bullets fired from silenced pistols was so soft that no one on the busy food street noticed when the 2 bullets flew over. If Yang Lin, Qi Mei, Wu Yao Tian, and the others hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have noticed the bullets flying over. Of course, Yun Jian, who was skilled with guns and ammunition, could easily smell the gunpowder even in this noisy food street. It was impossible for anyone who didn't come out of the assassin training camp to practice such sensitivity. Even if they came out of the assassin organization, they wouldn't have Yun Jian's ability. Yang Lin and Qi Mei screamed when they saw this. Ah! Gun! 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 There's a gun! After Yun Jian said this to the people in the dark, Yang Lin and Qi Mei finally reacted. Someone had fired a gun just now. There's a gun. There's a gun here. Yang Lin and Qi Mei were just cursing Yun Jian for suddenly shouting, "Get down." Both of them had a problem with Yun Jian. Just now, they had been criticizing Yun Jian one after another. They both thought they had coordinated well. What else could Yun Jian say now? But they never imagined that someone would shoot them with a gun. A gun. It was a real gun. Both Yang Lin and Qi Mei were military medical students at the Min Military Academy. They had only heard the boys boasting about how they handled knives and guns and how they fought and killed. But now, such a thing was happening right in front of him. Lin Yang and Qi Mei were so arrogant just now. Now that they realized the danger, they squatted down with their hands over their heads, screamed, and found the nearest table. Then, they crawled under the table. Hearing Yang Lin's and Qi Mei's screams, the surrounding people who were eating supper were so scared that they quickly found a place to hide. Places with a lot of people were most afraid of rumors. When you were in a crowded place, if you yelled, "Someone is shooting," most of the people around you would definitely believe it. Because of this, the crowd became restless. Wu Yao Tian and the others were so scared that they all found a place to hide and looked over. Chu Ning and the others also hid obediently and did not move. They were afraid of being a burden to Yun Jian. Yun Jian, who was standing in the same spot, smiled and walked out of the barbecue restaurant. She crossed her arms and looked at the darkness for a while. Then, a woman walked out. This woman was very thin and had a good figure, but her breasts were very small. She looked more like a Westerner. She held a Browning M1911 pistol in her hand and walked out from the dark seductively. This woman's code name was Ruoyin, and she was a killer known as the sharpshooter of the blood doll. Rumor had it that she once killed 3 birds with 1 shot. Her strength was amazing. Who is this? Wu Yao Tian saw Ruoyin and the gun in her hand. He was so scared that his face changed and he turned to ask Yun Jian. Although the boys in the military academy liked to brag about themselves, when it came to critical moments, they were naturally afraid if they were not strong enough. Yun Jian ignored Wu Yao Tian. She narrowed her eyes and looked at Ruoyin, who walked out from the dark. She did not look scared like the others. On the contrary, she looked at Ruoyin casually and looked up at her. There was a moment of silence. The people in the dark saw Yunjian suddenly raise her hand and throw the 2 bullets in her hand to Ruoyin. Ruoyin's eyes flashed and she caught them. I can't accept this greeting gift, but since you're here, don't even think about leaving. Yunjian's red lips curved slightly as she said these words calmly. The people hiding in the dark thought that Yunjian was too arrogant. But then, they saw a sharp glint in Yunjian's eyes. Chapter 1667. Ruoyin was standing not far away with the Browning pistol in her hand. Yunjian's lips curled slightly. She pursed her lips and stared at Ruoyin with her sharp eyes. Just as everyone was shocked by Yunjian's arrogant words, Yunjian's next move made everyone's expression change. Everyone was still thinking that the woman called Ruoyin was holding a pistol. And Yunjian. She dared to speak to Ruoyin in such a tone. Did she think that she could beat Ruoyin just because she kicked out a stool to block Ruoyin's 2 shots? Yunjian, be careful. Although Chu Xiangnan and the rest knew about Yunjian's skills, they still shouted at Yunjian worriedly. Why did she have to drag us down if she wants to die? Didn't she see the gun in that woman's hand? What if that gun hurts us? Why is she so selfish? Can't she just die and not drag us down with her? Chi Mei was so scared that she hid under the table and trembled. As she trembled, she did not forget to curse Yunjian while sobbing. It's all Yunjian's fault. It's all Yunjian's fault. So what if Yunjian is Team Monarch slashing God? That woman has a gun. Can she win against that woman? Not only will she not win against that woman, but she'll also get everyone killed. However, it was also at this moment that what happened next completely overturned everyone's understanding. This scene was unforgettable for everyone present. In the next breath, Yunjian took 2 large strides to where Ruoyin was. Ruoyin's eyes sharpened and she was about to raise the Browning pistol in her hand. Before she could raise the pistol, Yunjian took 2 steps and jumped in front of Ruoyin. This scene caused an uproar among the people who were hiding in every corner. Yunjian's skills were amazing. However, it was not over yet. While Ruoyin was still raising her Browning pistol, Yunjian had already arrived in front of Ruoyin in a few flashes. Then, a second before Ruoyin raised her gun and aimed, Yunjian's hands nimbly wrapped around Ruoyin's hands like a snake. At the same time, she wrapped around Ruoyin's left hand that was holding the gun and slammed her left wrist hard. Ruoyin's hand went limp from the impact. The left hand that was holding the gun went limp, and the Browning pistol slipped to the ground. Yunjian caught the Browning pistol without even looking at it when she attacked Ruoyin's hand that was holding the gun. The other hand that was wrapped around Ruoyin's right hand grabbed onto her right hand at the speed of light. With a vicious pull, it rapidly struck the bones of Ruoyin's right arm. Ruoyin wanted to fight back, but Yunjian had already hit her in every part of her arm, so she didn't have any strength. She widened her eyes in shock and wanted to kick Yunjian with her long legs. At this time, Yunjian had already circled behind Ruoyin with the gun. She used her knee to hit Ruoyin's knee, causing Ruoyin to kneel on the ground. The entire process took no more than 3 seconds. After 3 seconds, Yunjian had already snatched the pistol from Ruoyin's hand. Ruoyin's eyes widened. She was not weak, but she did not even have time to react before Yunjian kicked her to the ground. She even took the pistol. After being forced to the ground, Ruoyin was about to struggle when she suddenly heard the sound of a gun bolt being pulled. Yunjian had taken the Browning pistol from Ruoyin's hand and pressed it against the back of Ruoyin's head. When the crowd in the distance saw this scene, they could not help but be dumbfounded. Yunjian had actually taken the pistol from this woman's hand. And from this woman's skills, it could be seen that she was definitely not weak. Ruoyin, who was known as a sharpshooter by Blood Doll. This Ruoyin was probably a member of the assassin organization. And Yunjian had just snatched the pistol from Ruoyin's hand. Oh my god. The speed at which she snatched the pistol was faster than the speed at which she fired it. This little girl is too scary. An older uncle next to them looked at Yunjian in shock and let out a cry of shock. Yang Lin, Chi Mei, and the rest were scared beyond recognition. They saw Yun Jian pressing the gun against the back of Ruo Yin's head and smiling coldly at her expressionlessly. Chapter 1668. Yun Jian's words were like sharp silver needles, piercing Ruo Yin's heart one by one. These words were simply mocking Ruo Yin's incompetence as a sharpshooter. Ruo Yin was famous as a sharpshooter, but she couldn't even protect her most commonly used pistol. Ruo Yin was unwilling, but she had no choice. Yun Jian's strength was too strong, so strong that even if she was unwilling, she had no choice but to accept it. Ha! As expected of an SS, losing to you, I'm convinced. Ruo Yin said. She didn't show any fear of Yun Jian pointing a gun at the back of her head. After all, she was an assassin who was used to all kinds of situations. Her ability to endure was naturally not something an ordinary person could compare to. Seeing that Yun Jian was suppressing Ruo Yin, Yang Lin and Chi Mei, who were cowardly crawling under the table, quickly crawled out from under the table. Humph. Who told you to shoot at us just now? Yun Jian, hurry up and kill her. She almost killed us just now. I'm so angry. Chi Mei was just blaming Yun Jian for provoking Ruo Yin, who had a pistol in her hand. She was asking why Yun Jian didn't die by herself and insisted on letting everyone take the risk with her. But now, Yun Jian had snatched the pistol from Ruo Yin's hand and even pointed it at the back of Ruo Yin's head. Even though Chi Mei was unhappy with Yun Jian before, she didn't dare to target Yun Jian now. Chi Mei even had thoughts of pleasing Yun Jian. As for Wu Yao Tian, who wanted to take liberties with Yun Jian, or the very upright Duan Mu, or the man Yang Lin called brother, everyone was looking at Yun Jian with shocked and frightened eyes. At this moment, no one dared to stand out and say a word. Except for Chi Mei. Chi Mei had just criticized Yun Jian with harsh words, but now that she saw Yun Jian's terrifying strength, she went from being unhappy with Yun Jian to now standing up to please Yun Jian. Everyone present was watching Chi Mei's every word and action. Even those standing beside Chi Mei rolled their eyes at her. Quick, shoot her. Let her know how powerful we are. Humph. She actually wanted to kill us. He really dared to do that. Yun Jian, hurry up and shoot her. Anyway, you're a popular person in our military academy. Even if you really kill someone, the officers will protect you. Chi Mei was indeed a talent. Seeing that Yun Jian had subdued Ruo Yin, Chi Mei, who had previously treated Yun Jian as her mortal enemy, immediately treated Yun Jian as one of her own. She even incited Yun Jian to kill Ruo Yin. Those who didn't know better would think that Yun Jian was Chi Mei's subordinate. Seeing that Yun Jian had pressed the muzzle of the pistol to the back of Ruo Yin's head, Chi Mei's incessant words continued to spread. As she spoke, she walked towards Yun Jian. She already treated us like that just now, and you're still not going to kill her? Weren't you very powerful just now? And didn't you once annihilate an entire gang by yourself? Why don't you dare now? Chi Mei's voice continued to ring out. The crowd watching this scene from afar was deeply disgusted by Chi Mei's actions. However, just as Chi Mei was about to reach Yun Jian suddenly turned around and let go of the suppressed Ruo Yin. She turned around and kicked the completely unprepared Chi Mei. Chi Mei still treated Yun Jian as one of her own, so she was full of confidence that Yun Jian wouldn't do anything to her. But at this moment, Yun Jian suddenly kicked Chi Mei's abdomen in the air. She kicked Chi Mei far away on the spot, then held the pistol and fired a few shots at Chi Mei, who was thrown to the ground. Bang 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 bang. 5 shots. Yun Jian's marksmanship was so accurate that it was frightening. These 5 shots hit Chi Mei's forehead, her left arm grazed the side, her left leg grazed the side, her right arm grazed the side, and her right leg grazed the side of her head. Her marksmanship was exquisite, and the shots just grazed Chi Mei's 5 sides and shot into the cement floor. 5 shots. If any of them were slightly off, Chi Mei would definitely be injured. This scene happened so quickly that Chi Mei's face turned pale with fright. The surrounding crowd was also shocked by Yun Jian's shots, and their hairs stood on end. They saw that Yun Jian had already pointed the muzzle at Qi Mei's temple. In front of everyone present, she spoke coldly to Qi Mei. Chapter 1669. Yun Jian let go of Ruo Yin and turned around to kick Qi Mei, pointing the gun at her. This action caused everyone present to be astonished. Oh my God! Some people in the crowd covered their eyes as if they could imagine Yun Jian shooting Qi Mei's head. But at this moment, no one pitied Qi Mei. Not only did Qi Mei's actions make Yun Jian unable to take it, even the people who were standing far away were disgusted. What Qi Mei had done just now made everyone present extremely disgusted. Some people were even annoyed with Qi Mei and wanted Yun Jian to shoot Qi Mei to death. This girl has a big mouth. I can't stand her. A middle-aged man who was standing far away spat on the ground after being angered by Qi Mei's attitude. In the eyes of everyone present, Yun Jian's action was purely to vent her anger. Cough cough. I don't mean to say this, but this girl is more than a little annoying. Even Ruo Yin, who was hostile towards Yun Jian, did not leave after being released by Yun Jian. She walked to Yun Jian's side, touched her chin and complained. Ruo Yin was not afraid that Yun Jian would catch her again. She walked to Yun Jian's side and commented. Yun Jian pointed the gun at Qi Mei's head and turned to look at Ruo Yin. Why aren't you leaving? Do you want me to kill you? I'm not asking for it. Ruo Yin stood beside Yun Jian, shaking her slender and long legs as she looked at Qi Mei, who was kicked out by Yun Jian. Qi Mei was so scared that her face turned pale. She got up from the ground almost immediately and kowtowed to Yun Jian, begging for mercy. No. Don't kill me. I was wrong. Put the gun away. I won't dare to do it again. Qi Mei was a person who paid a lot of attention to her appearance. She could even show off her most beautiful appearance in front of the boys. She only ate one meal a day just to lose weight and shape her perfect figure to present in front of the boys. Of course, all of this was under the premise that their lives were guaranteed. At this moment, even his life was not guaranteed. What was the point of caring about his appearance and image? Therefore, Qi Mei directly knelt down and kowtowed to Yun Jian. Her whole body trembled like a spring. Puff! Such guts! Weren't you very powerful just now? Ruo Yin saw Qi Mei kneel down in front of Yun Jian. Her body was trembling like a spring, as if she had been greatly frightened. She stood aside and couldn't help but sneer. Ruo Yin was in no hurry to leave. Yun Jian's red arc slightly raised. She pulled the bolt of the pistol. In the midst of Qi Mei's begging and kowtowing, Yun Jian pursed her lips. The next second, she said with an indifferent expression, "You can die now." As soon as she finished speaking, a bang sound rang out. The moment Qi Mei heard the gunshot, she seemed to have been seriously frightened. She fell straight to the ground and fainted completely. Everyone standing in the distance was frightened by Yun Jian. She really shot. Was she really going to kill Qi Mei? But before anyone could react, they saw Yun Jian suddenly point the gun at the dark place where Ruo Yin had just come out from. With a bang sound, Yun Jian's shot directly into the dark place. What was Yun Jian doing? Everyone present widened their eyes in shock. After the shot was shot into the dark place, a slender man of about 1.82 meters in height, who looked handsome just by looking at his figure, easily dodged Yun Jian's shot and exposed himself to everyone present. The man was about 23 years old. He wore a hoodie with a collar on his head, but it couldn't stop his handsome face from appearing and disappearing in the dark. When she saw the man, Yun Jian narrowed her eyes and smiled contemptuously. Chapter 1670. Ruo Yin's expression changed when she saw that Yun Jian had fired a shot and forced the handsome young man out of the shadows. She had actually discovered their leader hiding in the shadows. Ruo Yin's face turned pale with fright. She had originally thought that with her abilities, she would be able to take 1 or 2 blows from Yun Jian. However, she had never expected that Yun Jian would be able to subdue her in 1 blow. This was not a big deal. After all, Yun Jian's identity was not to be underestimated. However, Ruo Yin had never expected that Yun Jian had already discovered their leader hiding in the shadows. Yun Jian had not said anything, but that did not mean that she had not discovered their leader's existence. Ruo Yin was well aware of their leader's abilities. However, Yun Jian had actually seen through everything with 1 glance. Normal people might not have been able to see through Yun Jian's shot, but Ruo Yin, who was also an assassin, could see through it with 1 glance. Yun Jian's shot had just happened to be aimed at the Blood Doll leader's hiding spot. Her speed, direction, and distance were all very accurate. If the leader did not walk out in front of everyone, he would have been hit by Yun Jian's shot. Yun Jian had controlled the speed of the shot just now perfectly. If the Blood Doll leader did not walk out, he would have been hit by that shot. Therefore, Yun Jian's shot had successfully forced the Blood Doll leader who was hiding in the dark to come out. Leader. Ruo Yin suppressed the shock in her heart. She turned her head to the side to look at her Lord Chief and bowed to her. The Blood Doll leader's name was Di Lin. At this moment, Di Lin was dressed in black from head to toe. The hat behind his collar was also black. In this dark night, under the illumination of the surrounding neon lights, Di Lin's appearance was faintly discernible. This was a very young but pale face. He was handsome and spirited, but at this moment, his face was so pale that it made people feel a little scared. Di Lin didn't show any signs of panic after being discovered by Yun Jian. He waved his hand at Yun Jian, who was bowing to him, and stood in front of Yun Jian. Di Lin was about 1.82 meters tall, so Yun Jian looked very short when she stood in front of Di Lin. But in terms of aura, Yun Jian was many times stronger than him. Another person had arrived. Standing in the distance, Wu Yao Tian, Yang Lin, and the others were dumbfounded beyond words. Everyone stared blankly at the scene before them. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes at Di Lin. Tell me why you're here. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes and asked calmly. I'm here to find my woman. Di Lin said to Yun Jian. He was wearing a black hoodie, so he looked like an emissary in the darkness. Are you talking about Lang Mei who was captured by me last time? Yun Jian played with the gun in her hand and looked at Di Lin playfully. Di Lin didn't reply to this question. Ruo Yin, who was standing at the side, couldn't help but want to complain, but she held it in. Lang Mei was the #1 expert of Blood Doll. She was adopted by the leader's father when she was young and could be considered as the leader's childhood friend. Later on, the leader's father passed away and the leader inherited Blood Doll. He used the fastest speed to develop Blood Doll into the largest organization in Southeast Asia. Lang Mei had always been by the leader's side. Lang Mei became the leader's woman when she was 16. She was the leader's first and last woman. But the leader's attitude towards Lang Mei was like treating a tool to warm his bed. Lang Mei had always felt that she was the leader's tool and didn't dare to have any improper thoughts. In Blood Doll, who didn't know that Lang Mei was the leader's lover? Even Lang Mei herself thought that she was the leader's mistress. Ruo Yin couldn't help but complain. She had long known that the leader treated Lang Mei differently. Not long ago, Lang Mei was captured by Yun Jian. Being captured by SS, Lang Mei could be killed at any time. Their leader, Di Lin, hadn't slept for a few days. This time, he even rushed here to ask Yun Jian for Lang Mei. But when it came to Lang Mei, their leader wouldn't even mention the word love. Chapter 1671. No one could understand Ruo Yin's worries. She had joined the Blood Doll organization later on. She had been in the Blood Doll organization when it was still a small organization. Until Di Lin's father passed away this year, Di Lin became the new leader of the organization. In less than half a year, the Blood Doll went from a small organization in Southeast Asia to wiping out all the organizations in Southeast Asia and becoming the #1 assassin organization in Southeast Asia. It could be said that Ruo Yin witnessed the development of Di Lin and Lang Mei's relationship with her own eyes. Even a bystander like her was puzzled. Her leader liked Lang Mei but didn't say anything. It felt like the eunuch was more worried than the emperor. Even a eunuch like her was anxious to find a way to matchmake her leader and Lang Mei. It was so heart-wrenching. Yun Jian played with the gun in her hand and looked at Di Lin with a frivolous gaze, waiting for his reply. Yes, Di Lin said to Yun Jian expressionlessly. The woman he was looking for was Lang Mei, who was captured by Yun Jian last time. Seeing that the atmosphere had calmed down, Wu Yao Tian, Duan Mu, Brother Dong, and Yang Lin, who was holding a grudge against Yun Jian at the school dormitory, as well as the hooligan who called him brother, walked out of their hiding place. Even so, they didn't dare to come close. Who knew if the gun in Yun Jian's hand would go off accidentally? That was a gun. A real gun. If it went off accidentally, someone would die. Even so, everyone was confused by Yun Jian, Di Lin, and Ruoyin's words. What was the Blood Doll organization? And Yun Jian captured someone called Lang Mei? What was going on? If they hadn't seen Yun Jian's gun go off with their own eyes and confirmed that it was a real gun, they would have thought that Di Lin and Ruoyin were actors hired by Yun Jian. His purpose was to flaunt his groundless abilities in front of everyone. At this moment, Yun Jian, who was standing in the middle of the food street and looking at Di Lin with frivolous eyes, suddenly smiled. She raised her beautiful eyes and stared at God's descent's eyes. After a moment of silence, she opened her mouth and said, "I'm sorry. I'm a person who never makes a losing deal. You can take him back, but I have a condition." Upon hearing that Yun Jian had a condition, everyone standing in the distance pricked up their ears to listen. "Speak," Di Lin said with a dark face. Yun Jian's smirk calmed down at once. Looking at Di Lin coldly, she recollected her playful expression and spoke in a chilling voice that rang in everyone's ears. "The blood doll belongs to me. You can take the person away." What she wanted was the entire blood doll organization. Even though the crowd did not know what the blood doll was, they could feel that it was not something ordinary. After hearing Yun Jian's words, everyone present gasped. They had to admit that Yun Jian was very arrogant. What she wanted was not money or status. She wanted the entire blood doll organization. You. Hearing this, Ruoyin's emotions tensed up. Unable to restrain herself, she almost attacked. "I can give her to you, but before I give you the blood doll, I want to see her in perfect condition." Di Lin waved his hand at Ruoyin and looked sharply at Yun Jian. When Di Lin said that, even Yun Jian was slightly shocked. The blood doll was not a small organization. In the past, it might have been a small organization in Southeast Asia, but now, it was the top organization in Southeast Asia. How could he give it up so easily? Deal. Even though she was doubtful, Yun Jian finished her sentence without changing her expression. What she wanted was not just the blood doll organization. She wanted everyone in the organization. Chapter 1672. I'll see you in Longmen City this Saturday. I'll bring you to her. Of course, you'll have to show your sincerity first, like, who's the mastermind behind the blood doll organization's mad pursuit of me? Yun Jian narrowed her eyes and looked at Di Lin, reverting to her usual demeanor. Unbeknownst to her, a smirk crept up the corners of her lips again. Yun Jian crossed her arms and looked at Di Lin lazily, waiting for his reply. The crowd from afar had no idea what Yun Jian and her friends were talking about due to the confusion they were having. What was the mastermind behind the Blood Doll organization's mad pursuit of her? Was the Blood Doll an assassin organization that had been hunting Yun Jian recently? Yun Jian was neither a leader nor an internationally renowned figure. Why would they want to hunt her down? No matter how many questions the crowd had, they dared not ask them now. What a joke. The gun in Yun Jian's hand was not just sitting there without a use. The crowd was only slightly puzzled when they heard what Yun Jian and her companions said. In spite of it, Ruoyin and Di Lin, who had always been calm, looked grim when they heard what Yun Jian said. Yun Jian was indeed an SS. She actually knew that the blood doll was hunting her down. The Blood Doll organization had interrupted the Kosha mercenaries' missions many times recently. It was not that the Blood Doll leader was stupid enough to do so. There was someone behind the Blood Doll. Lin's skin was pale. He was wearing a black hoodie, and his handsome face was covered by the black hoodie. Lin's expression darkened when he heard what Yunjian said, but it was hard to discern the change in his expression due to his pale complexion. Those who were more attentive would be able to tell that Lin was truly surprised by what Yunjian said. As long as she's unharmed, these aren't secrets, said Lin. After that, he turned and waved at Ruoyin before leaving to the dark corner of the food street. Did he mean that as long as Leng Mei was fine, everything would be fine? Right before Lin and Ruoyin were about to disappear from her sight, Yunjian added to their backs, "You're right, you're right. Leng Mei is indeed in Longmen City. If you're smart, don't take the risk to rescue her. Otherwise, her head will roll any time." Yunjian's words were a threat, but it was also the truth. Yunjian was a woman of her word. He had never failed to get what he wanted. It was the same for the Blood Doll. Lin and Ruoyin paused in the darkness when they heard Yunjian, and then their figures flashed and vanished swiftly. Yunjian, who were those two people just now? Why did they want to kill you? Chu Ning and the others had been standing behind Yunjian since the beginning. Chu Ning blinked at Yunjian and asked. Yunjian's pretty eyes blinked at Chu Ning's question, her red lips curling. Just as everyone thought that Yunjian was going to defend herself, Yunjian relaxed and grinned at Chu Ning. Take a guess. After that, Yunjian walked around Chu Ning and the others to return to the table where they had barbecued skewers and sat on the stool. The people around them stood at the side. Due to what happened just now, no one dared to sit at the table recklessly. They were afraid that bullets would shoot out from the dark like just now. Yunjian sat at the table as if nothing had happened. She picked up a mutton skewer on the table and gobbled it down, commenting softly, "Smells good." Looking at Yunjian's reaction and recalling Yunjian's ferocious skills just now, the people around them could not help gulping. If it were not for the mess around them, everyone would have thought that what happened just now was just a farce. Chapter 1673. Yunjian ate with relish. It was not until 30 minutes after Lin and Ruoyin left that the food street returned to its initial calm. Along the way, the police came to investigate the situation. But after finding out that no one was injured, they called the witnesses to register and did not make things difficult for Yunjian. Qi Mei was so frightened by Yunjian's shot that she fainted. Qi Mei thought that Yunjian's shot was aimed at her head, so she fainted. In the end, it was Wu Yao Tian and the rest who reluctantly carried Qi Mei back to school. She only woke up when they arrived. Even though this incident had caused quite a stir locally, it was fortunate that it did not alert the school. Hence, no one knew that Yunjian and the rest had played truant at night. Yunjian returned to the dormitory and fell asleep immediately. The next morning, Yunjian woke up early in the morning. Even though she slept late last night, Yunjian did not sleep much. As usual, she woke up earlier than the rest of the students and went to the field for a few rounds of morning exercise. By the time she reached the classroom, most of the students had already started their morning reading. The students of Min City Military Academy usually woke up at 5:30 am and started with half an hour of morning reading, followed by half an hour of morning exercise. At 6:30 am, they would finish their morning exercise and head to the canteen for breakfast. Half an hour of morning exercise every morning was already very tiring. Hence, when it came to breakfast, the students in the school would have a huge appetite. Plus, there was a lot of training in the military academy. Hence, both boys and girls had bigger appetites than students from other schools. If they could train, of course they could eat. Even if the students of the military academy had bigger appetites than students from other schools, they would still be slimmer and more muscular than students from other schools. At this moment, Yunjian, Lin Wan and Muing were eating porridge in the canteen. Yunjian ordered a bowl of porridge, 3 pumpkin pies, a bun and an egg. Compared to the average girl, Yunjian's appetite was not small. At most, it was shocking. But in the military academy, this kind of appetite was not small at all. Yunjian, yesterday you. At the mention of Yunjian and the others playing truant yesterday, Lin Wan paused for a moment. She looked around cautiously, then moved her head closer to Yunjian. Lin Wan whispered in a voice that only Yunjian, Mu Ying, and herself could hear. Was it fun to play truant yesterday to have supper? Looking at Lin Wan's curious look, Yunjian's red arc curved. She didn't answer directly, but pursed her lips and said, "You'll know when we go together next time. I'm a good baby." Lin Wan shook her hands. She shook her head and moved her head away from Yunjian. At this moment, a gentle female voice sounded from the school's broadcast system. The radio was set up in every corner of the school, so even if people were sitting in the cafeteria, they could still hear the radio. And at this moment, the gentle female voice on the radio spread to almost every corner of the cafeteria. Congratulations to student Yunjian of our school's grade 1, 2, for winning the Strongest Female Student award personally inscribed by Principal Ma. Student Yunjian is being praised by the entire school. Next, student Yunjian who heard the broadcast, please come to the Academic Affairs office to receive your award. As soon as the gentle female voice on the radio finished speaking, Yunjian's mouth twitched. Not only Yunjian, but all the students who heard the broadcast were dumbfounded. Strongest Female Student Award? What the hell was this? When did this award become available? How come it had never happened before? Chapter 1674. Award? Strongest Female Student? Pfft. It was personally inscribed by Principal Ma. Yunjian, was it because your performance at the selection round was too amazing and you won first place? That's why Principal Ma gave you such an award. And it was announced to the entire school. Lin Wan covered her mouth. Principal Ma's funny behavior made her laugh. Awarding certificates was something that happened in every school. However, the usual awards were nothing more than exemplary student, activist, good child, and so on. Higher up would be first prize, second prize, and third prize. At the very least, it would be first prize, second prize, and so on. But what about Yunjian? On the other hand, Principal Ma had personally written a certificate for her as the strongest female student. The problem was that this award had never been given out since the establishment of Min City Military School. In other words, what Yunjian received was the highest honor. Therefore, when the announcement was broadcasted, all the students around them were discussing who Yunjian was, who was crowned as the strongest female student award or title. Weren't the students of grade 1, 2, high school freshmen? A freshman in grade 1 actually received Principal Ma's favor. The female voice in the broadcast repeated several times. Yunjian wasn't in a hurry. She only parted ways with Lin Wan and Mu Ying after she finished her breakfast. Yunjian walked unhurriedly to the school's administration office. Early morning was the most refreshing time of the day. At this time, all the teachers had gone to eat breakfast, so only a few students were left in the administration office. Yunjian had just arrived at the entrance of the administration office when the female student standing inside stopped Yunjian. The teachers have all gone to the cafeteria to eat. If you have anything to say to the teachers, come back later. This female student was the most trusted student of one of the teachers in the administration office. The teachers in the school would usually have one of their most trusted students. This female student was the most trusted student of one of the teachers in the administration office. Usually, when the teacher needed to organize information, the female student would be called to the office to help. Because she was deeply doted on by the teacher, the female student was especially arrogant in front of other students. There were always a few students in the school who were as obedient as lapdogs in front of the teachers. They would take on any chores or dirty work and were deeply trusted by the teachers. However, they were unusually arrogant in front of other students. The female student who stopped Yunjian was such a person. Now that there were no teachers in the administration office, the female student felt that she was the one in charge of the administration office. Therefore, before Yun Jian could enter the administration office, she was stopped by the female student and ordered Yun Jian to come back later. I'm Yun Jian from year 1, 2. I heard the announcement and came to collect my certificate. Yun Jian did not waste time with the girl and went straight to the point. You're Yun Jian from grade 1, 2. After the female student heard Yun Jian's words, she sized up Yun Jian from head to toe. This female student was a senior in grade 3, so after hearing Yun Jian's words, she looked at Yun Jian with a questioning gaze. A grade 1 student could actually gain the favor of Principal Ma. If this wasn't getting in through the back door, then what was it? The female student looked at Yun Jian with disdain. Originally, she only wanted Yun Jian to come back later to find the teachers in the administration office. Now that she heard that Yun Jian was grade 1, 2, Yun Jian, she was even more unwilling to let Yun Jian enter the administration office. I already said that the teacher isn't in the administration office right now. You're just here to get an award. Why do you have to come and get it now? What if the administration office lost something because of you? Can you afford to pay for it? The female student didn't let go and aggressively said to Yun Jian. Chapter 1675. This female classmate who was deeply doted on by the teacher and who usually followed the teacher around like a bootlicker was called Wang Tingting. Wang Tingting studied military medicine, which also meant that her strength was no different from that of a normal girl. A portion of the people in Min City's military school trained their skills every day. When they graduated, they would either become soldiers or special forces. There was also a portion of them who studied military medicine. Most of them were female. As a military medicine student, Wang Tingting didn't have a deep understanding of strength. Moreover, in Wang Tingting's impression, if a girl mixed with boys, trained her skills, and lived like a boy, how could she be considered a girl? Moreover, even if a girl joined the military, how capable could she be? Wasn't it just to attract the boys' attention? Wang Tingting was like an obedient girl in front of the teacher. She usually didn't put on makeup and was ugly, but she knew how to flatter. In front of the teacher, she was very good at flattering. Wang Tingting was very proud to be able to survive until now and be treated like a treasure by the teacher. She was a classic example of fawning in front of the teacher and being arrogant in front of the students. She had the attitude of, I have the teacher's support, you have to submit to me even if you don't want to. Therefore, the girls in Wang Tingting's class usually didn't want to interact with her. However, Wang Tingting liked to flirt with the boys and play around. Yun Jian wasn't afraid of Wang Tingting using the teacher to threaten her. She looked at Wang Tingting without changing her expression and said, the announcement is for me to get the certificate, so move aside. I already said that the teacher isn't in the academic affairs office now. Do you think you can enter just because you want to? If you have the guts, go and call the teacher back yourself. Otherwise, you can come and get the certificate later. Wang Tingting blocked the entrance of the academic affairs office. She raised her head and looked at Yun Jian arrogantly. Wang Tingting, are you helping the teacher here again? Just as Wang Tingting's voice fell, a group of boys walked over from the side. These boys were obviously seniors in the 3rd year of high school. After the boys walked over, Wang Tingting first said a few flirtatious words to them. Then, she turned to point at Yun Jian and said to the boys, it's this girl. She didn't listen to me. I've already told her to come and collect the certificate later. Who's going to be responsible if something goes missing in the teacher's office? But she refused. Wang Tingting simply inverted right and wrong, black and white. Yun Jian had clearly heard the announcement and came to receive the award. However, Wang Tingting had stopped her. Not only had she used the teacher to threaten her, she had even accused Yun Jian of being the guilty party. Wang Tingting obviously had a good relationship with the boys who were walking around the school during the break. Hearing Wang Tingting's words, the boys looked at Yun Jian with strange eyes. Yun Jian was beautiful, but the boys also had a good relationship with Wang Tingting. Hearing that Yun Jian was here to receive the award, she recalled what she had heard on the radio just now. The boys scanned Yun Jian from head to toe. You're Yun Jian, the one in grade 1, 2, who was crowned as the strongest female student by Principal Ma himself? It can't be. She looks so small. I thought that Yun Jian was a she-devil who weighed 100 kilograms. How could it be her? The boys looked at Yun Jian with great interest. However, it didn't take long for the boys to look away. Yesterday, a few students in our school skipped school to eat supper at the snack street. Something big happened. At this moment, a boy suddenly spoke up. What happened? Wang Tingting immediately became interested when she heard this. Especially in front of Yun Jian. Wang Tingting felt that she got along well with these boys. Moreover, these boys were very good at gossiping. Therefore, she felt that it was very impressive to know these boys. At this moment, Wang Tingting wanted to brag in front of Yun Jian about how knowledgeable these boys were, so she quickly asked. Chapter 1676. When young boys and girls gathered together, the thing they liked to talk about the most was gossip. Hearing gossip from other people's mouths was far more interesting than hearing about what happened to themselves. A few boys wanted to brag about their gossiping skills in front of Yun Jian, so they opened their mouths to talk. They didn't expect Wang Tingting to be so cooperative. As a result, the boys became even more excited. Bragging in front of girls was already a very fulfilling thing, let alone in front of a very beautiful female classmate. So the boys became more and more excited as they talked. Later on, that female classmate suppressed everyone. I heard that she was very powerful. Very cool. Yesterday, my brother also skipped school to have supper with his girlfriend. He saw it with his own eyes. That female classmate's strength can only be described with 4 words: invincible. One of the boys' saliva splashed. Yun Jian was far away, so she wasn't splashed. The boys standing in front of this boy and Wang Tingting were splashed by the boy's saliva. But at this moment, no one said anything. Wow, that's amazing. Then do you know who that person is from our school? Wang Tingting revealed a look of admiration. Speaking of this, Wang Tingting glanced at Yun Jian. While admiring the powerful person mentioned by the boys, she didn't forget to look at Yun Jian with disdain. That person is really powerful. What about you? I really don't know how you got that strongest female student award. Pfft, don't tell me you got it by sleeping with your body. Wang Tingting's last sentence was quite loud. Yun Jian was very good looking, but she was a freshman in high school. As a freshman, she didn't have much strength or experience. Her body was thin and weak, and she only had good looks. So other than sleeping with others, how could she get the strongest female student award? Just as Wang Tingting finished speaking, before Yun Jian made a move, the boy who said that his brother saw the powerful scene of the female classmate yesterday with his own eyes pointed not far away and shouted in surprise. Look, that's my brother. I asked him to come over and tell you guys how powerful the female classmate he saw yesterday was. Hee. I heard that she snatched the gun away from him in an instant. Just as the boy finished speaking, he saw that his brother had already rushed over. Before the boy could finish his words, his brother had already looked at Yun Jian as if he had seen his idol and shouted in surprise, "It's you. It's you. It's actually you. Yesterday, you were the one who flew out of the bench to block the bullet. You even snatched the gun from the woman who was holding it. You even told her that you can't even protect your own weapon. What kind of sharpshooter are you? Classmate, you're my idol." When the boy's brother saw Yun Jian, he was so excited that words couldn't describe it. Seeing this, the surrounding people were instantly dumbfounded. What? She was the girl who was rumored to have snatched the pistol from the enemy. When Wang Tingting heard this, she felt a pain in her head. For a moment, she had a feeling of disbelief. She was the female classmate that everyone was talking about. However, this was not the end. Immediately, everyone was stunned when they saw a slightly older figure walking over from not far away. The moment he saw Yun Jian, this slightly older man actually started running. The people present focused their gazes. Wasn't this man the Min City Military Academy's Principal Ma? Why was Principal Ma here too? Wang Tingting and the boys present were a little stunned. Before she could recover from her shock, she saw Principal Ma running to Yun Jian and speaking to her in a rather agitated tone. "You're a genius, Mr. Ma. Classmate Yun Jian, you really didn't let me down. You won first place in this selection competition." First place. Ha ha ha. Of the 100 Special Forces soldiers who participated in this selection competition, which one of them isn't the most powerful person in our country? And you actually won first place in the selection competition. Chapter 1677. As the principal of Min City Military Academy, Principal Ma was usually fierce, but he was very kind to students who needed help. However, as the principal of Min City Military Academy, he was not often in the school due to his official position. Therefore, most of the students only saw Principal Ma's serious face. Wang Tingting and the boys present were seniors in their third year of high school. They had been in Min City Military Academy for more than 2 years and it was now their third year. This was the first time they had seen Principal Ma so agitated. Come. Why are you still standing at the door? Go in. Come in for a cup of tea at the Academic Affairs office. Before Wang Tingting's face darkened, Principal Ma had already ushered Yun Jian into the Academic Affairs office as if he was a leader. Wang Tingting stood at the entrance of the Academic Affairs office. It was her first time encountering such a situation. She could not leave as she had not completed her teacher's orders. She could not stay either. After all, she had spoken to Yun Jian in that tone. She even said that Yun Jian's strongest female student award came from sleeping with her. However, she would never have guessed that the female student who had snatched the gun from the bad guy during the heated discussion yesterday, and the one who won first place in the preliminaries, the famous slashing god of Team Monarch, was actually her. This reality made Wang Tingting, who had been badmouthing Yun Jian, self-destruct. Not only that, Wang Tingting felt like her face had been slapped beyond recognition. Meanwhile, Principal Ma had already invited Yun Jian into the Academic Affairs office. He personally pulled out a stool in front of Yun Jian's desk for her to sit. Then, he eagerly went to pour a cup of tea for Yun Jian with both hands. Come. Drink some water first. Be careful, it's hot. I'll get you the award. After Principal Ma handed Yun Jian the cup of tea, he went to get the award. Wang Tingting was dumbfounded by what she saw. Wang Tingting loved to flatter. Usually, it would be impressive if she could flatter her teacher. In Wang Tingting's opinion, being able to curry favor with the principal was simply something to be proud of. However, when it came to Yun Jian, it was the principal who was flattering her. This, Wang Tingting's eyes darkened. Just as she was about to turn around and look for the boys who had been showing off in front of Yun Jian, she heard a voice coming from behind her. However, she suddenly realized that these boys had already slipped away when Principal Ma had politely invited Yun Jian into the house. Just now, he wanted to show off in front of the beautiful junior, so he flaunted his vast knowledge. She didn't know that the person the boys were showing off to was Yun Jian herself. Naturally, the boys were too ashamed to stay there. They didn't even say goodbye and ran away. In the end, Wang Tingting gritted her teeth and slipped away. She planned to wait for Yun Jian to leave before coming back to deal with the things that the teacher had instructed her to do. Later, she would use the excuse of having a stomachache to tell the teacher that she had a stomachache, so she went back to the toilet first before coming back to tidy up. After sitting in the Academic Affairs office for a while, Yun Jian returned to the classroom after being praised by Principal Ma. According to Principal Ma, the time to go to the hunting school had not been set yet, and they were still waiting for the notice. However, he told her to be prepared at all times. When the notice came, she would set off at any time. Yun Jian acknowledged Principal Ma and returned to the classroom. A week passed quickly and it was Friday in the blink of an eye. CE was not around on Friday. When Yun Jian returned to Longmen City, she felt that the house was a little lifeless. She was not used to it, but the night passed just like that. The next morning, when the sun had just risen, there was a knock on the door. Yun Jian did not even need to guess to know that it was Ruo Yin and Di Lin who were knocking. As expected, once the door opened, Yun Jian saw Ruo Yin who had left after knocking on the door and Di Lin who stood behind her. Di Lin was still in his initial disguise. He was dressed in black from head to toe with a black hoodie on his head, but it could not hide his handsome yet slightly pale face. "I'm here to pick up my woman." Di Lin went straight to the point. Yun Jian's lips curled into a smile. Chapter 1678. Let's go. Yun Jian waved. She walked around Ruoyin and Di Lin and led the way. Qin Yiru had gone to work at the florist early in the morning, so before Yun Jian brought Ruoyin and Di Lin to look for Lang Mei, they bought a few buns from the roadside and ate as they walked. Qin Yiru slept early and woke up early now. Working at the florist was not tiring at all. Other than taking care of the children, she looked much younger now compared to when she was working hard. Logically speaking, Qin Yiru should have spent the rest of her life at home 20 to 30 years earlier than her peers after giving birth to such a capable daughter like Yun Jian. However, Qin Yiru insisted on going to work. That was because once a person lacked exercise, their body would deteriorate. Some elderly people had a common problem before they passed away, which was that they could not walk. Walking was considered exercise too. Once a person stopped exercising, they would soon become useless. Therefore, even if the elderly were seriously ill, they should never forget to bring them out for a walk. Even if they could not walk, they should push their wheelchairs out to get some sunlight. Even if they could not live to 100 years old, they could at least live longer. Qin Yiru had realized this long ago, so she could not stop exercising. After buying a few buns, Yun Jian walked lazily on the way to Qin Yu's house while Ruoyin and Di Lin followed her without a word. It was neither near nor far from Qin Yu's house to Qin Yu's suite. Yun Yi usually had extra classes on Saturdays. Her studies in Songshan High School were especially tight, so she did not have a break on Saturdays and Sundays. "We've walked so far. Are we there yet?" You can't lie to us." Ruoyin could not help but shout after walking behind Yun Jian for a while. "I can't even afford a cab now after your people messed things up. Take your time, don't rush. Also, don't call me SS here. You can call me Yun Jian." Yun Jian turned to Ruoyin with a grin, half joking. Yun Jian was referring to the fact that the blood doll had recently interfered with the missions of the Kosha mercenaries. Ruoyin was rendered speechless by Yun Jian's words and was glared at by her own leader. Thus, Ruoyin could only swallow the words she wanted to say back to Yun Jian. "It's here." Yun Jian led Ruoyin and Di Lin on a leisurely walk for half an hour and finally arrived at Qin Yu's door. When she reached the door, Yun Jian stretched herself. It's nice to take a walk in the morning." What's more, there were 2 lackeys following behind him. This feeling was not bad. Yun Jian had the key to Qin Yu's house, so she took it out when they arrived at the door. As soon as the door opened, a graceful voice rang out from within the room. It's burnt. Ha ha ha. I've won 3 rounds today, so tonight's bowls, chopsticks, and our clothes are all yours." Yun Jian had just opened the door when this graceful voice sounded. Yun Jian raised a brow. Ruoyin and Di Lin could not help the corners of their lips twitching when they heard the female voice. The female voice undoubtedly came from Lang Mei. Just as the female voice ended, another young voice continued, "Grandpa, Grandpa. Let's go save Grandpa." Inside the house, Lang Mei, Qin Yu, and Gu Nianji were playing mahjong together. The 3 of them had nothing to do, so they decided who would wash the dishes and clothes today based on the outcome of the mahjong game. Lang Mei had won 3 rounds in a row. She spread out the mahjong tiles excitedly and stood up. The color TV next to her was still playing Qin Yu's favorite show, Calabash Brothers. Yun Jian could not help the twitch of her lips when she saw this scene as soon as she stepped through the door. Lang Mei stood up excitedly and even made an "I've won" gesture. However, just as she stood up to cheer her victory, she caught sight of Yun Jian, who was standing outside the door, and Di Lin, who was standing behind Yun Jian and Ruo Yin. Leng Mei almost slipped when she saw Di Lin. She steadied herself and looked at Di Lin in shock. Leader. Leader, why are you here? Leng Mei had always thought that she was just Di Lin's mistress. Now that she was captured by Yun Jian, Di Lin would only give up on her as a pawn. Chapter 1679. Ruoyin was dumbfounded when she saw Leng Mei wearing Qing Yu's rabbit slippers and cute teddy bear pajamas. She looked so relaxed and comfortable. When Leng Mei was in the blood doll, she had always presented herself as an aloof and cold person. What was up with her today, though? The moment the chief found out that Leng Mei was captured by Yun Jian, he could not sleep well and did not eat much during the day. SS was known for their ruthlessness. Who knew if Leng Mei would be killed after being captured by Yun Jian? However, reality proved that Ruoyin and Di Lin were wrong. Not only was Leng Mei not dead, she was still wearing the rabbit slippers and teddy bear pajamas as she played mahjong with Qing Yu and Gu Nianji. After winning the game, she even jumped up excitedly to tell Qing Yu and Gu Nianji, who were in the same team as SS who captured her, that they would take care of the bowls, chopsticks, and clothes for the three of them tonight. Where was the danger? The chief was worried that something would happen to Leng Mei, so he gave the entire blood doll organization to Yun Jian. Yet, Leng Mei was hiding here playing mahjong. Ruoyin, you're here too. Leng Mei looked at Ruoyin and lowered her hand that was raised in excitement. She gulped and looked at Di Lin and Ruoyin, her voice growing softer. Leng Mei, you're living such a comfortable life. The chief was so worried about you that he didn't eat or sleep well for the past few days. Ruoyin said to Leng Mei. However, just as Ruoyin said that, Di Lin glanced sideways and glared at her. This made Ruoyin, who wanted to exaggerate to Leng Mei about what Di Lin had done for her these days, shut her mouth. God, the chief's gaze was too scary. For the sake of her life, she should find a chance to tell Leng Mei, this slow-witted woman. Yun Jian stood at the door and watched Di Lin walk in. She walked over without a word to grab Leng Mei's hand, who was standing in front of the mahjong table, and dragged her out. Leader, how did you find this place? Before Leng Mei could finish her sentence, Di Lin dragged Leng Mei out of the room with a dark face. He did not say a word. The blood doll is yours. After dragging Leng Mei to the door, Di Lin turned to look at Yun Jian. After saying that, he dragged Leng Mei, who had no idea what had happened, out of the room. What? Why did the blood doll organization? Why did it belong to Yun Jian? What did the chief promise Yun Jian? Leng Mei suddenly had a bad premonition. However, just as Di Lin grabbed Leng Mei's wrist and was about to leave, Yun Jian's voice suddenly came from behind him. I'll take the blood dolls, but you're still the leader of the blood dolls. Di Lin stopped in his tracks. Leader. You gave her the blood doll? Why? Don't tell me it's because of me. Leng Mei was the #1 expert in the blood doll organization, but her EQ was nothing to scoff at. Leng Mei thought for a long time before realizing that Di Lin was doing all this for her. Huh? He didn't love her, so why would he give up the entire blood doll organization for her? Di Lin did not look at Leng Mei, but he tightened his grip on her wrist. He looked up and met Yun Jian's eyes. What she meant was, she took the blood doll, but he and the rest of the blood doll organization did not have to leave. It was just the blood doll organization working for her. That was all? Really? Di Lin was puzzled. Naturally, he did not want to give the blood doll that his father had created to someone else. However, he had no choice this time. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.